They told you God changed. They told you truth evolved. They told you Israel was gone. They lied.
The God of the Bible does not change. His covenant does not expire, and his people were never forgotten. This channel exists for one reason: to call Judah back.
We teach scripture without apology. We expose deception without fear. We speak what others won't. Scripture, identity, obedience, prophecy, Exodus. This is not religion.
This is remembrance.
If you feel the pull, if you hear the call, if you know this world is not your home, you're not crazy.
I don't trust the church or government, Democrat, Republican, my Messiah, Black Nazarene, darker than my own skin. I don't trust the church or government, Democrat, Republican, my mighty one is Yahuah. I put my trust in him. I don't trust the church or government, Democrat, Republican, my Messiah, Black Nazarene, darker than my own skin. I put my trust in him. Yahuah, hold my center. Babylon is falling. Watch the wicked crumble, tremor. Ears to the east, they calling. I hear Swahili in the wind, but I study, I breathe, so I know where my blood begin. Give us free like I'm a star. This a mutiny blind. Refuse to see my people hate their heritage. They rather take the Greek. Sorcerers got the stage, and prophets buried underneath. Oh, the church is deaf. She covered both her ears when an Israelite speak. They wanna spit the weak. America got blood on the leaves. She got blood on the land. She wash and wash, but the stain's still in her hands. Babylon has fallen, fallen. I put my trust in him, trust in him. Babylon has fallen, fallen. Yahuah is my shield, my shield. I don't trust the church, no. I don't trust the state, no. Babylon has fallen, fallen. His truth don't shake. Why call me racist? I'm asking what they taught. Was it me who lied, or the picture that they brought said the son of the Most High came with foreign skin, bloody bone of my bone and skin of my skin? So why you murdering my peers? Why you slaying my fam? Don't you know we Abraham's seed? Don't you know who I am? Never forget Santo, they gun down pop. Tell me when the police violence in T-Ville gon' stop. Blue lights spin the block and the mother lose her breath. Every time they pull up it feel like a sentence to death. The youth bury the streets while the elders hold grief, and the ones with the mic keep silence in the feast. Sorcerers get crowned while the righteous get tried, but I've seen too much mercy to bow to their lies. Babylon has fallen, fallen. I put my trust in him, trust in him. Babylon has fallen, fallen. Yahuah is my shield, my shield. I don't trust the church, no. I don't trust the state, no. Babylon has fallen, fallen. His truth don't shake. Fire, still I won't bend. If they close every door, he'll open again. From the dust to the drum, from the bruise to the praise, we were made to remember and stand in these days. Babylon has fallen, fallen. I put my trust in him, trust in him. Babylon has fallen, fallen. Yahuah is my shield, my shield. I don't trust the church, no. I don't trust the state, no. Babylon has fallen, fallen. His truth don't shake. I don't trust the church or government, Democrat, Republican, my Messiah, Black Nazarene, darker than my own skin. I don't trust trust the church or government, Democrat, Republican. My mighty one is Yahuah. I put my trust in him.
What if I told you that one of the biggest debates in the faith today comes down to a single question? Was the Torah only given to Israel? Millions of Christians say yes. Many Israelites say absolutely. But what if both sides are missing key pieces of the puzzle? What does it mean when Yahuah says to Israel, "You only have I known of all the families of the earth"? Did he literally not know the other nations? And if the Torah was only for Israel, why do we repeatedly find strangers, foreigners, and entire nations being judged according to standards found within the Torah? Today we're going directly to the scriptures to answer one of the most controversial questions in the Bible. All right, Myshpacha. So this lesson here, question is, was the Torah only offered to Israel? Is Israel the only nation that knew Elohim? If so, then is Yahuah just for judging the nations according to a law that was never given to them? What was the original faith of the ancient Israelites, right? So we're going to open up in the very beginning, and we're dealing with the power of Israel, which we're going to find out is the power of all creation. So opening up, we're looking at the beginning of the Father's creation and the throne of his dominion. So we're going to open up here in the secrets of Enoch 24, starting at verse 1. Anybody want to be my reader for the day? If they don't mind.
I can alternate with somebody.
Okay. So secrets of Enoch 24, starting at verse 1.
Okay. And Yahuah summoned me and said to me, "Enoch, sit down on my left," with Gabriel. And I bowed down to Yahuah, and Yahuah spoke to me, "Enoch, beloved, all that you see, all things that are standing, finished, I tell you, even before the very beginning, that all that created from non-being, invisible physical things from invisible spiritual."
Okay. Now this is the Father, and he's talking to Enoch. He tells Enoch, sit on, come sit down. And he's about to give him play-by-play of how he brought everything into existence, from the invisible things to the material physical things, and how everything started from the invisible. All right. Verse 3 through 4.
"Hear, Enoch, and take in these my words, for not to my angels have I told my secret, and I have not told them their eyes, nor my endless realm, nor have they understood my creating, which I tell you today. For before all things were visible, physical, I alone used to go about to the invisible spiritual things, like the sun from east to west and from west to east."
So Yahuah was just moving. He was moving around, right? Now this is who we call El Elyon, the Most High, right? He existed before anything existed, anyone existed. He said he was going around moving throughout the invisible. Verse 5.
But even the sun has peace in itself, while I found no peace, because I was creating all things, and I conceived the thought of placing foundations and of creating visible, physical creation.
Cain, right? So notice that. So he had a thought, right? We see a thought in Elohim to create a physical realm and places of foundations in creating all these things from the invisible to the physical. Secrets of Enoch 25, verse 1.
I commanded in the very lowest parts, the visible, physical things should come down from invisible, spiritual, and Adol came down very great, and I beheld him, and lo, he had a belly of great light. And I said to him, because undone, Adol, and let the visible, physical come out of you. And he came undone, and the great light came out, and I was in the midst of the great light. And as there is born light from light, there came forth a great age, and showed all creation which I had thought to create.
Okay, so this is a doyle that comes forth out of the Father. Okay, and he is this light, this great light. All right, and he, through him, is all these things being created that's in the thought of El, the Father, Yahuah. Okay, so notice that this Adoyle is the one that gets brought forth, and Adoyle could come from a Hebrew translation of the pras, which is the hand of El. Okay, another understanding will be the light of El. So this is what Adoyle means. Okay, he is the hand of the creation or the light of creation. All right.
Okay, quick question. Sorry to interrupt.
Uh-huh.
So when I read this just recently, I thought it was the sun, but that's the translation. And then someone was like, it could be a mallet. So no, it's the light of Yah.
Cain, this is the light of Yah doing all this work on behalf of El. He came out of El, and he's doing all these works. It starts to sound familiar. About somebody we know, right? But this
yeah, because we were in Enoch.
All right.
And that's where we found that name, Adele.
Okay. Now, and we know who this actually is, and this is what I want y'all to understand who we believe as Mashiach or Yahusha. He was known as other names before he comes in the flesh and we know him as Yahusha. Okay, this is his essence of before. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Elohim, and the Word was in El himself. And all things were created and made by him, and without him wasn't nothing made. This is him. This is this in the beginning, right? That's why he says he is the light of the world, because he really is the light. All right. So this is the beginning of this. But notice who it is first. It's the Father here first. El. He's the great architect. He's the one with the plans. All right. And everything. And out of himself, he pulls a Doel, or whom we know as the word of El, the light of El. All right. And he is doing all these things. He's creating these things. And he has some help too, which we're going to get to. All right. Verse 4 through 6.
And I saw that it was good. And I placed for myself a throne and took my seat on it and said to the light, go hence up higher and fix yourself high above the throne and be a foundation to the highest things. And above the light, there is nothing else. And then I bent up and looked up and from my throne.
Okay. Chapter 26, 1 through 4.
And I summoned the very lowest this second time. And I said, let Arcus come forth hard, and has came forth hard from the invisible spiritual. And Arcus came forth hard, heavy, and very red. And I said, be opened, Arcus, and let there be born from you. And he came undone, and age came forth, very great and very dark, bearing the creation of all lower things. And I saw it was good, and said to him, go thence down before, make yourself firm and be a foundation for the lower things. And it happened. And he went down and fixed himself and became the foundation of the lower things. And below the darkness, there is nothing else.
Okay, so notice all the creation started in the invisible. That means that's why Yah, when he says he known us before we was in our mother's womb, is because all his creation that he created, he already had it in the invisible in his thought that he gave or had a Doyle and Arcus doing, right, to start the creation process. And we see that Arukas from the Hebrew represents firmament, right? And it's formation of creation, or the foundation of creation from the beginnings. So we see both working to create this foundation from the heavenly to the material, the physical. Secrets of Enoch 27 verse 1.
And I commanded that there should be taken from the light and darkness. And I said, be thick. And it became thus. And I spread it out with the light, and it became water. And I spread it out over the darkness below the light. And then I made from the waters, that is to say, the bottomless. And I made the foundation of the light around the water, and created 7 circles from inside, and imagined the water like crystal, wet and dry. That is to say, like glass. And the circumcision of the waters and the other elements. And I showed each one of them its road, and the 7 stars, each one of them in its heaven. And they got thus, and I saw that it was good.
So I want y'all to recognize this. He's setting a hierarchy, right, within Shemaim right here. There's levels of Shemaim. There's 7 levels with 7 stars, or sons of El, that are governing these levels of heaven, right? So I want you to understand, these are from Adoyle all the way to here. These are the eldest of the sons of El, right? This is where we start to get into the divine council of the hierarchy amongst El and his sons, okay? So keep that in mind as we're going into this. Verse 2.
And I separated between light and between darkness, and is to say, the mist of the water hither and thither. And I said to the light that it should be the day, and to the darkness that it should be the night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day.
Cain, right? So we see Adoyle and Arukas are personified, right? And seeing that these are the ones who transform the thoughts of Yahuah into material and physical, invisible things, right? And emanated creation. Adoya and Arukas are primordial beings controlled by Elohim, in a sense, right? They work on behalf of Elohim, and they are aspects of the mind of El, or his power, unfolding or expanding from his thought or idea to becoming a reality, right? And then from this point on, we'll call Adoyle the spirit of light of creation, right? And Arukas, we call it the spirit of the foundation of creation, all right? So before anything existed at all, from the very beginning, whatever exists, El created from the non-existent and from the invisible to the visible, okay? So before any visible things had come into existence, he moved around in the invisible things, right? Like he said, like the sun from the east to the west, from the west to the east. And then he said he didn't find rest till he thought to create, right? So this is where these foundations are established, from his creation. So we see Elohim with his forethought and his foresight and his plan of creation and his plan of salvation here at the same time. The first movement of creation is self-reflective, is self-conscious thought, right? The expanding of the thought into an idea to become reality. Like I said, these 7 stars represent the 7 Malak, or the 7 sons of El, in each heaven. And these are priests. Okay, this is in the Dead Sea Scrolls right here. All right. We went over this in one of the other lessons. And this is the songs of the Shabbat sacrifice, right? Because you got to remember, they keep Shabbat and Shemaim as well. All right. That's in Jubilees chapter 50. They keep Shabbat in the heavens. This is an eternal thing. All right. And it says, praise the Elohim of the God like you 7 priests who draw near to him in the highest heaven, 7 wondrous realms set out by the precepts governing his temples. So there's temples, there's a priesthood, all right? The temples of the realm of the 7-fold priesthood, and the wondrous temple belonging to the 7 holy councils. Okay, the prince and the angels of the king and the wondrous habitations. So they're principalities. These are called the B'nai Elohim, but more specifically, the divine council. These are the elder powers of El. Okay. So again, yeah. So these are these 7 stars, these 7 powers. And I'm making a distinction about this because you have to understand these things as we going forward on who is what. When Moshe saw what he saw at the burning bush, what was he coming in contact with? Right? He wasn't just seeing one power. He was seeing this divine council, and he was moving on, and he was following the instructions from them, right? Understanding that Yahuah is the one that introduced himself because he is the patron or the covenant inherited deity to Israel specifically. But because of his rank amongst his brothers, right, they still have to move on his behalf because he is the eldest. That's why I'm saying when we find out who Adoyo is, you're going to understand these things. Enoch 48, Kanok 48, verse 1. Let's talk about this because this power that we're talking about that introduced himself to Moshe, he's the only one that a body was prepared for him. Do you understand? In Psalms 40, it talks about how thou hast prepared a body for me. You understand? He's the only one that manifested in a physical body and still is traveling the cosmos from heaven and earth. And he is the link between heaven and earth because he came in the flesh, right? Died and resurrected and sat above and sat on the highest at the right hand of El, the Father. He was from the beginning, though, before all the other sons of El, before earth and the physical realm. I'm about to read about that. Let's look at this. Enoch 48, verse 1 through 6.
Okay. And in the place I saw the fountain of righteousness, which was inexhaustible, and around it were many fountains of wisdom, and all the thirsty drinks of them, and were filled with wisdom. And their dwellings were with the righteous and set apart, elect. And at the hour of the Son of Man was named in the presence of Yahuah. Tashot?
Samuel.
Okay. And his name before the Ancient of Days, before the sun and the signs were created, before the stars of heaven were made, his name was named before Yahuah, Yishabot, and who dwell on the earth shall fall down and worship before him, and will praise and bless and celebrate with song of Yahuah, Shabbat. And for this reason has been elect hidden before him before the creation of the world, and sun and moon was made.
Okay, so he was before all creation of the world, right? He was before even some of these powers or these sons of El were even made. That's why he was in the beginning with El, and Yah already had his position, what he was going to do, and everything from the gate. All right. Secret of Enoch 29, verse 1.
For all the heavenly troops, I imaged the image and its essence of fire, and I looked at the very hard, firm rock, and from the gleam of my eye, the lightning received its wonderful nature, which is both fire and water, and the water and fire. And one does not put out the other, nor does the other one dry up the other. Therefore, the lightning is brighter than the sun, softer than the water, and firmer than the hard rock. And from the rock I cut off a great fire, and from the fire I created the orders of the incorporeal 10 troops of angels, and their weapons in fiery, and their raiment of burning flames. I commanded that each one should stand in his order.
Okay, so now these are the other class of sons of El. Okay, so you have the hierarchy elders, which is the divine council of El. And then you have these other ones that came later, right? And they're subjected to these other hierarchy. All right. Now, this fallen El, right? We're going to talk about this fallen mighty one, Secret of Enoch 29, verse 3.
Okay, and it's from out of the order of angels, having turned away with the orders that was under him, conceived the impossible thought to place his throne higher than the clouds above the earth, that he might become equal in rank to my power.
Cain, verse 4.
And I threw him out from the height with his angels and and he was flying in the air continuously above the bottomless.
Cain. All right, so this mighty one, right? This son of El, he was among the elder ones. That's why he has those underneath his rank that follow and submit to him. So he had a rule, he had a throne, he had all these things, and he thought to set up his throne above. But he knew the thing is he could not overpower the father, but he tried to influence a rebellion, right? And we're gonna find out what that all was about as we continue on. He was a part of the morning star. So the morning stars are these elder powers. These are the elder sons of El amongst these 7 that we saw, right? He was one of them. And these are the ones that sang in Job when they was watching the creation of everything, the earth, the sun, all that. They was before all that stuff. Second Enoch 30. I'm gonna read 1 through 6.
On the 3rd day, I commanded the earth to grow great and fruitful trees and hills and seeds to sow. And I planted paradise and enclosed it and placed as armed guardians flaming angels, and thus I created renewal. Then came evening and came morning to the 4th day. On the 4th day, I commanded that there should be great lights on the heavenly circles. And on the first uppermost circle, I placed the stars, Chrono, and on the second, Prophet, to the 3rd, Eris, and to the 5th, Zoros, and on the 6th, Amos, and on the 7th, lesser than the moon, and adorned it with the lesser stars. And on the lower, I placed the sun of the illuminations of the day, and the moon and the stars from the illuminations of the night. The sun that it should go according to each constellation, 12. And I appointed the sessions of the months and their names and lives, their thunderings and their hours, making how they should succeed.
Cain, right? So notice on the 2nd day, this is when this Malak causing a problem. And it's because this is what's about to take place. He's forming a garden, right? He's doing all these things. And then he's making other powers, as you can see. These other Malaks or stars or sons of El. This is another class of children of El, right? But again, these are lesser powers. They're not as the elder, stronger powers, right? So there's ranking, as y'all can see. And the constellations and all these things are being made here, right? And when you look at the constellations, which we're going to get into, it's about someone, all right? It's about this first begotten son, right? The first eldest son who is going to inherit all things. We're going to find out that all this is a family situation, right? And there are rankings amongst this family, and there are even fights among family, all right? But keep that in mind. All right, Targum of Genesis 1, verse 27.
Okay, and the word of El created man in his likeness. And in his likeness of the presence of El, he created him. The male and his yoke fellow, he created them.
Cain, right? So check this. So listen to the word of El created man in his likeness, in the likeness of the presence of El, he created them. The male and his yoke fellow, right? He created them. So notice the word of El is the one who we just saw a doyle that came out of El. Okay, this is the same person, okay, that has his hand in creating man, right? Yahuah 1 and 1.
In the beginning was the word, and the word was with Elohim, and the word was an El. He was in the beginning with Elohim, and he came through him, and without him not even one came to be.
Came. So in the beginning was the word, right? Yeah, it was. And the word was with Elohim, right? The word was with El, the Father, and the word wasn't Mighty One himself. He was an El as well. He was in the beginning with Elohim, right? He was in the beginning with the Father and the other powers, elder sons that came after that. All came to be through him, because yes, it was through him, or Doyle, right, that all the things were made and created. And without him, not even one came to be, which is true. Hebrews 11, verse 3.
I believe we understand that the ages were prepared by the world of El, so that what is seen was not made of what is visible.
Exactly. So we saw El the Father telling Enoch how he made all things from the invisible to the physical, right? And it all came into being through a doyle, right? Which is the word of El. So all the things that was not seen and made to be seen came through him. It was prepared by him. True. And it said that by belief, we understand that the ages, right, were prepared by him. Notice when we read in Secrets of Enoch that an age came out, right? All the ages of time came out of him. So when we talk about ages, in case those don't know about the constellations we were just reading, in Hebrew, it's called the Mazarot, all right? And the Mazarot is what the people call today the zodiac. Now, the Mazarot in its essence is pure the way Yahuah created it. These ages of time all represent who we call the word of El, right? And him and his ministry, okay? And it actually started beforehand, which we're going to get to, because there was a whole situation here before Adam came on the scene, right? That's a whole nother study of who was on the earth and all these things, because you heard him say he started the renewal of the earth and planted a paradise, the garden. That means for something to be renewed, that means something was filled in the earth before he had to renew it. So there was a whole nother situation going on earth, right? Where Hashatan, everybody went before the fall and all that. And then there was a fall that took place. And then later on, we see him renewing the earth. And this is when he forms Adam, okay? So Adam comes in the age of what they call Gemini, right? The twins, where you see Adam and Kawa, or Adam and Eve, right? The yin and the yang. That's the age of innocence, right? Then each age is 2,500 years, right? You go into a different age, and each age has certain things Yahuah or El the Father pours out upon his creation, certain blessings, gifts, and different things, right? So in the age of Gemini, we saw that with Adam and Kawa, right? And then the next age is the age of Taurus. This is when Abraham steps on the scene, okay? And it's called the age of chaos, right? And then after the closing of the age of Taurus is when the Most High has Abraham sacrifice, his son Isaac. And instead of Isaac being a sacrifice, a ram is brought forth. And it also is identifying the changing of the age of Aries, right? The ram, which is the age of Torah. This is when Moses steps on the scene, right? And he gets the law from Mount Sinai, right? Then you have the age of Pisces. After the age of Torah, age of Pisces is when the Mashiach steps on the scene. And it's the age where it shows the two fishes representing the two houses of Israel, right? The northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. And he's a fisher of men to restore the house of Israel to becoming one again. That's his mission in that age, which we're coming to the close of that age, and we're going into the age of Aquarius, right? Where he is the water bearer, the one who pours out the living water, right? Which is that second pouring of the spirit, the outpouring of the Ruach, right? You have your former rain, you have your latter rain pouring out of the spirit. This is during that time that we're about to enter into. So these ages, the word of Elohim made and created from the very beginning, because Yahuah had all this in his mind and his thoughts before he manifested and created everything, right? All right, so now we're looking at what happened when Hashatan had a problem with Adam was being formed, right? Let's look at third Baruch.
And he said to Michael, sound the trumpet for the angels to assemble and bow down to the work of my hands, which I made. And the angel Michael sounded the trumpet, and all the angels assembled, and all bowed down to Adam, order by order. But Sentinel did not bow down, and said to mud and dirt, I will never bow down. And he said, I will establish my throne above the clouds, and I will be like the highest. Because of that, Elohim cast him and his angels from his face, just as the prophet said. These withdrew from his face, and all hate Elohim in the glory of Elohim. And Elohim commanded an angel to guard paradise, and they ascended in order to bow down to Elohim.
Okay, so again, the word of El, right? And you're gonna see who else was there in making or creating Adam, and they were made to serve Adam, and they didn't like that they had to serve. Well, I ain't gonna say they, Hashatan didn't like it, right? He had a problem with it. He felt like he was older. He was one of the elder sons, so he felt like I shouldn't have to serve your younger son. So when it says, let us make man in our image and in our likeness, El is saying, I'm gonna make a little, world of myself like me in a different form, right? And he's going to be just like a Malak, like my sons, right? I'm going to give him dominion over this place so he can rule like I rule, right? And so he can share the same experience that I'm sharing on this heavenly platform in his earthly realm, right? And Hashatan had a problem with that. He didn't like that he was designated and made to serve the younger of the creation. So we see this is where this rebellion took place. This is where it all stemmed from. Now, we're going to talk about this us that made man in the likeness of the image of Elohim, okay, for a minute. So when you look at this, there are 3 that bear record in Shemayim, right? My question to you all, what does that mean to you all, where it says 3 that bear record in Shemayim? Myshpacha?
A father, son.
Okay. Father, son. 3 that bear record, though.
Is he talking about what we just went over, like Adoil and Arcas?
Yeah,
his first sons?
we talk about that as well. So notice that the father, right? And he's talking about the son. We could talk about that's Adoil and so forth. That's why I'm asking what's everybody's understanding first before I go into a whole bunch of stuff here.
Ruach HaKodesh too, then? Like
Ruach HaKodesh, Cain.
Yeah.
Cain. Okay. So we're going to go over something here, right? We're going to talk about, because we just saw the word of El made Adam. So the one that said, let us make man, we have El the Father, right? But who also moves on behalf and makes and creates on behalf of El the Father? We know it's the word of El. So his hand, the right hand of El, is the one doing something in the making of Adam, right? But also there's someone else. We're going to look at this. Let's look at Secrets of Enoch 30, verse 10. Let's find out who else had their part in creating Adam.
Okay. On the 6th day, I commanded my wisdom to create man from 7 consistencies. 1 has flesh from the earth. 2 has blood from the dew. 3 has eyes from the sun. 4 has bones from the stone. 5 has intelligence from the swiftness of the angel and from the cloud. 6 has veins and hair from the grass of the earth. 7 his souls from my breath and from the wind.
Cain. So my question to you all is, who is wisdom? Because it says wisdom created man. Who is wisdom?
Is it Ruach?
Is the Ruach? It's the Ruach?
Yeah,
it's the Ruach, right? Does everybody know that or heard of that before?
Yeah, in Proverbs it goes in detail. It goes
into detail. So we're going to go into some more detail today because there are 3 that bear record in Shemayim. And there's a reason for that, right? Like we're talking, there's a family unit in the Shemayim. And this family is saying, we want to create another reality, right? That's like us up here. We're going to make our own little world for them. And they're going to be in the image and likeness of us, right? So keep that in mind. Verse 11 through 12.
Okay. And I gave him 7 natures, to the flesh, hearing, the eyes for sight, and to the soul smell, the veins for touch, and the blood for taste, and the bones for endurance, and to the intelligent sweetness, enjoyment. I conceive a cunning saying to say, I created man from invisible spiritual and from visible physical nature. Of both are his death and life and image. He knows speech like some created thing, small in greatness and gain great in smallness. And I placed him on earth, a second angel, honorable, great, and glorious. And I appointed him as ruler to rule on earth and to have my wisdom. And there was none like him of earth, of all my existing creatures.
So notice this. He created the invisible spiritual realm and the physical realm, but he made man to have both. He has a physical and spiritual compass of him being created, right? So he's not just flesh, he's spirit as well. He's the only dual nature creature that Yahuah has created in his creation, right? And he's saying he made him a second class angel, meaning the first class is the elders, the divine council with El and his sons and so forth, right? And then you have the lesser ones. But he's saying he made him as a second class. That's why these lesser other ones have to serve him. So some people had a problem with how y'all did that. He didn't like that the people who was made before Adam have to serve Adam when he was later created. But in y'all's thought, he wanted him to be a second class from him, even though he was made later, right? But he is the creator, so they can't, for them to challenge, you know, his authority about this was a great iniquity, because they didn't bring themselves into existence, right? Yahuah created all things for his will and his purpose, right? And when I say Yahuah, I'm talking about El Elyon, Yahuah the Father, all right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want y'all to understand that the only Malak, right, that has the inheritance of the earth, and he is from the above, right? He's one of the elder sons, and he's also called the Son of Man because he has a body of man as well that was prepared for him, so he can inherit all things, because he's the firstborn son from the heavens, and he wants to be the firstborn to inherit the earth, because he gets the firstborn inheritance of the double portion. Okay, everybody knew that about the word of El, and or also known as Adoil right now, right? That he is the first one to come out of the Father. He's the firstborn. He has a firstborn inheritance of a double portion, and he's going to be the first to inherit all things, because that's his right by being the first son of El the Father. All right, keep that in mind. 1 John 5:7.
For there are three that bear record in heaven, the Father, the Word, and the Holy Spirit, and these three are one.
Dang, so these three are one, meaning akkad, are united, right? So it's not three masculine principles up there, though, is what I want y'all to understand. We're going to go into wisdom, right? We have the Father, El Elyon, Yahuah, right? We also have the Son, also known as El Shaddai, Yahuah. He's Yahuah Jr., all right? We're going to go into that. Then you have the feminine principle, which is wisdom, or they call it Ima Kakma, right? And this is the feminine principle. And these is the likeness and the image of Elohim that was created, that had their whole hand in making Adam, okay? And from those spirits come forth the male and the female principle that was made in their image and likeness, all right? So it's to mimic the heavens, right? From El Elyon the Father, the word of El Shaddai Yahuah, also known as Yahuah Jr. And then Ima Kakma, the Ruach HaKodesh, Holy Spirit. So this is the us that made man in their image and in their likeness, right? Now, we read in other places where there are the sons of El that made the garden, help planted the trees in the garden, all that. They do things as well. But in this makeup here about Adam, it is actually the supreme power that had their hand in making Adam in their likeness and image and essence, right? So that's the let us make man in our image and likeness. This is called the divine council. Okay, you have the Father, his firstborn son, and the Ruach HaKodesh, and then you have the other elder sons that came after. They're part of the divine council, and they are part of these seven heavens, and they have temples there that they rule over and govern all these other lesser or younger brothers, okay, or sons of El and so forth. Okay, so we're gonna look at how the divine council is how it functions in the Torah, because this was not taught amongst Israel. This is why I said this henotheism is what was always been the understanding of our culture and our faith. All right, so we're gonna start in Bereshit to really understand how this works, right? So we see let us, plural, right? Elohim is mighty ones, plural, make man in our image. Then we see in verse 27, we're gonna look at this, because most people don't know and understand that Adam was created perfect, right? He was created in a perfect way, male and female, not lacking anything, as the Most High, who always had his female counterpart or feminine essence by his side, right? Which is wisdom. Now, when you look at Bereshit 1:27, we're seeing what the image and likeness of man is made in, right? So let's read that real quick.
So Yahuwah created man, Adam only, in his own image. And in the image of Yahuwah created he him, Adam only. Male and female created he them.
Cain, exactly, right? So what is the image of the Most High? It's male and what? Male and female. Cain, the masculine and feminine. That's the image of the Most High. So he's not sitting up there next to another masculine principle in that way, right? He has a feminine mirror reflection of his kindness, you know, which is in human terms, a woman in a sense, right? or a consort of a type of wife, if you will, the Ruach HaKodesh, okay? So most people don't know or understand that Adam, he had all that in him, just like the Father had everything in him before he starts pulling out of himself anything, right? Let's read about that. Because from the beginning, Eve was always inside of Adam, okay? Making him perfect as the image of Yahuah, who always had wisdom, right? The image of Yahuah's goodness inside of him, all right? So we look at Proverbs 8, verse 1 real quick.
Doeth not wisdom cry, and understanding put forth her voice?
Her voice, right? Wisdom of Solomon 7:26.
For she is the brightness of the everlasting light, the unspotted mirror of the power of Yahuah in the image of his goodness.
The image of his goodness, right? So just like the woman is the image and reflection of the man, right? Same is the Ruach HaKodesh, or wisdom to El the Father. Proverbs 8:22.
Yahuwah possesses me in the beginning of his way, before his works of old.
Before his works of old, he possessed her. Just as a man possesses his wife, Yahuwah possessed wisdom, right? Ima Kakma, from the beginning, before everything was made and created. All right. Genesis 2:21.
And Yahuwah caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which Yahuwah taketh from man made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. And Adam said, This is now bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh, and she shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man.
Dang. So when this happened, right, Adam was no longer perfect because he lost what made him like Yahuwah, right, which was his the feminine principle, right, or his woman that became Eve, right? So neither was the woman perfect because she was no longer a part of her man, right? So Adam always, he's the head, right? Just like El the Father is the head, right? His rib made him complete, just like Yahuwah had wisdom in himself. Genesis 5, verse 1. Let's look at how Yahuwah looked at, because I want y'all to think about this. It was only Yahuwah existing before anything. He said it was just him. Then he pulled out himself, right? He pulled out himself a Doyle, or his son, and he also pulled out of himself wisdom, or Kakma, right? Or the Ruach HaKodesh, which was a image and likeness of himself, of the feminine principle, right? So he made Adam with all that in himself, and then did the same thing, pulled out of him Eve, or the feminine principle, and made that his counterpart, right? Now let's look at Genesis 5, 1 through 2.
This is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that Elohim created man, in the likeness of Elohim made he him. Male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam, and the day when they were created.
Cain. So both of their names were called Adam. Are y'all seeing that? Right? Notice together, the man and the woman together were called Adam. All right? So man and woman, Ish and Isha, when they come together, you have an Adam, right? Yahuwah named the male and female pair, the pair Adam, the masculine and the feminine pair, right? So we sometimes have this misconception that Adam means just male, but no, there's Adam, then there's the, which is the Ish, the man, and then you have the Isha, or the woman. But Adam refers to a male and female pair, right? And Ish alone is not an Adam. Neither is a Isha alone an Adam, right? It's when Ish and Isha come together, you have the masculine and feminine, and now you have an Adam. So sometimes people will say, well, you know, the male was created first, and so forth and so forth. And the truth is, no, they were both there, right? But the female came out of him. So her creation part was second from him, even though she existed in him prior. All right, just the same way as wisdom. Right? That's why they called Elohim together, because in unity they do all things together as a unit, as a family, right? And this is and the reason why he made Adam that way is because he wanted him to share in the same likeness that he did himself, and that's why he made him like that and experience him pulling out of himself this feminine principle, which is Eve, or a cow. All right. So this is the process of creation. All right, so he said, let us make man. He didn't say, let us make male in our image, right? Man, Adam, All right. And the singular consisting of male and female pair. This is what makes the Adam. Romans 1 verse 20.
So the invisible things are understood by the things that are made. So if you want to know what the function is, you will look at what's made. What? Male and female, what comes from that child? Even his eternal power and good Godhead. So he made the physical to represent the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. The Father, which is the all power, and the Holy Spirit, which is the feminine principle.
Okay, right? So he gives us no excuse by seeing the creation to understand that there is a heavenly family, right, that made you. That's why man can't be atheist, because the very image of seeing a man and a woman and child is a direct reflection showing that there is a father and a family up that created you. You're not from just by chance created or just exist, right? Like they say in evolution, you know, evolved into something from monkeys and so forth. That's not what it is. He's letting you know by your direct image of how you live life, by two male and female principles creating this family structure, is the same thing in the heavens that made you, right? That you're gonna have to give an account to. Wisdom of Solomon 6:22.
As for wisdom, what she is and how she came up, I will tell you, and I will not hide mysteries from you, but will seek her out from the beginning of her nativity, and bring the knowledge of her into light, and will not pass over the truth.
Cain, right? So he's about to give you the nativity of wisdom, right? Which a lot of this isn't taught. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, verse 7.
Wherefore I prayed, and understanding was given me. I called upon El, and the spirit of wisdom came to me.
Cain, verse 8.
I preferred her before scepters and thrones, and esteemed riches nothing in the comparison of her. Neither compared I unto her my precious stone, because all gold in respect of her is a little sand, and silver shall be counted as clay before her. I loved her above health and beauty, and chose to have her instead of light, for the light that cometh from her never goeth out. All good things together came to me with her, and innumerable riches in her hands, and I rejoiced in them that all, because wisdom goeth before them, and I knew not that she was the mother of them.
Cain, right? So we see the mother aspect here. Wisdom of Solomon 10, 1 through 2.
She preserved the first formed father to the world that was created alone, and brought him out of his fall, and gave him power to rule all things.
Okay, so she was the one that preserved Adam, right, when he fell, right, and could had him continue to walk in the righteous way. Wisdom of Solomon 7:25.
For she is the breath of the power of El, and a pure influence flowing from the glory of the Almighty. Therefore, no defiled thing fall into her.
Okay, so the Ruach HaKodesh, right, is the breath of the Most High, right? She was the breath that went into Adam that gave him life. And it was she that was sent to give man life. Just like women today, they give birth and give life. This is still the feminine principle, right? That bore Adam, give breath to Adam. 7:26.
For she is the brightness of the everlasting light, the unspotted mirror of the power of Elohim, in the image of his goodness.
Dang, so in fact, the Most High used her to shape and fashion the earth, right? Just like women do today, right? They're good at, decorating houses and so forth, right? So the Most High, he was not alone, right? At first, he was alone with no time, and he actually took a part of himself, right, and made a mirror image of himself. But it would be an emotional side of himself, this nurturing side of himself, this comforting side of himself. And he pulled also Eve out of Adam the same way, just like he pulled the Ruach HaKodesh or Ima Kakma, wisdom, out of himself. Wisdom Solomon 7:27.
And being but one, she can do all things, and remaining in herself. She maketh all things new, and in all ages entering into holy souls, she maketh them friends of Elohim and prophets.
So in all ages, we went over this 12 ages, right? We just in the last 6, we just been through the last 6 of the ages. We coming to the last one, which is the Aquarian age, right? But she's been going into souls throughout all ages. And we know we experienced the Ruach because she's in us, right? There's this feminine principle is in us. She was in the prophets, right? She conversates with El, and that's why the prophets who have the spirit are able to prophesy and reveal things, right? Set apart things that's in Shemayim because it is shared with the Ruach. Wisdom of Solomon 7:28.
For Elohim loveth none but him that dwelleth with wisdom. For she is more beautiful than the sun, and above all the order of stars, being compared with the light, she is found before it. Wisdom reacheth from one end to another, mightily and sweetly doeth she order all things.
Okay, so he's letting you know that she's more beautiful than all the other powers, the angels and all that, and she was before all of them. Constantly letting you know this divine counsel, right, of Elohim, that's the supreme, that's at the top, and underneath is the other sons and then the lesser ranking sons, right? So he's letting you know her foundation was from the very gate, from the beginning. Wisdom Solomon 8:2.
I loved her and sought her out from my youth. I desired to make her my spouse, and I was a lover of her beauty. And in that she conversant with El, she magnified her nobility. Yahuah of all things himself loved her.
Dang, so she's conversing with El the Father and even Yahuah of all things, right? Which that's what I'm saying. You know him as Yahuah Jr. or the arm of Yahuah or the presence of Yahuah or the messenger Malak or angel Yahuah in what they call the Old Testament. His name wasn't Yahusha then, right? But he's letting you know they both love her. That's why blasphemy of the rock is no forgiveness. You know what I'm saying? Because of this relationship, right? Wisdom of Solomon 8:4.
For she is privy to the mysteries of the knowledge of El and a lover of his works.
Okay, so she loves his works, right? She was there when he was doing it all. She had her hand in helping him do it all. Wisdom of Solomon 8:5.
If riches be a possession to be desired in this life, what is richer than wisdom that worketh all things? Therefore, I purpose to make her to me to live with me, knowing that she would be a counsel of good things and comfort and cares and grief.
Okay, right? So she worketh all things, and she is also a counselor of good things and a comforter, right? So you see the different functions when the Mashiach says, I must go for the Ruach HaKodesh cannot come. The Father has to send the Ruach, right? This is the Ima Kukma, wisdom that will come and comfort you and will teach you of me, right? So this is how the family unit was represented, right? When Mashiach came out of the Father, and we see Ruach HaKodesh also alighted upon him as a dove and so forth when he was immersed in Jordan, right? So it's letting you know that, guess what? The Ruach stamp gave her stamp, right, upon him. And then you heard the voice come out of heaven, El, of saying, this is my son, my dearly beloved, who I am well pleased. Letting you know, like, hey, man, this is from the gate. This is from the beginning. He's already been stamped and approved, and he's proven himself when he came into the flesh. Wisdom of Solomon 8:21.
Nevertheless, when I perceived that I could not otherwise obtain her except El gave her need, and that was a point of wisdom also to know whose gift she was, I prayed unto Yahuah and besought him, and with my whole heart I said,
notice El gave her to him, right? Because she's his gift, right? And Yahuah Jr., the son, this Yahuah, the son, he is the inheritor of this people, Israel. Solomon is speaking. He's the one giving you this revelation, right? Because he is also a son of Israel. He's a child of Israel. So he's letting you know that he has to go through Yahuah, right? He's praying for something that only El can give, the Father gives. But Yahuah is still this kind of intercessor, person that is the in-between for all things, because he is the one that rules over Israel. Wisdom of Solomon 9:1.
O El of my fathers, and Adon of mercy, and has made all things with thy word.
He made all things with what?
Thy word.
So the Father El, right? I mean, El Elyon Yahuah, right? He has made all things through the word of El, which is El Shaddai Yahuah Jr. Okay. Wisdom of Solomon 9:2.
and ordain man through thy wisdom, that he should have dominion over the creatures which thou hast made.
Okay, so he made all things with his word, right? Which we know is Mashiach, right? And he made him a ruler or a king, right? To have dominion over all the creatures that he made. Verse 3.
And ordered the world accordingly to the equity of the righteousness, and execute judgment with an upright heart. Give me wisdom, and sitteth by thy throne, and reject me not from among thy children.
Did y'all just hear that? He's asking El the Father to give me wisdom that sitteth by thy throne, right? And reject me not from among thy children. Y'all see that, right? So she sits by the throne of El Elyon Yahuah, right? Conversing with El, right? Wisdom of Solomon 9 and 8.
Thou hast commanded me to build a temple upon thy holy mount, and an altar into the city wherein thou dwellest, in the symbol of the holy tabernacles which thou hast prepared from the beginning. And wisdom was with thee, which knoweth thy works, and was present. And when thou madest the world, and knew what was acceptable in thy sight, in the right, and the commandments, in thy commandments.
Okay, so how we know what's pleasing to the Father, right? Is because she's privy to the mysteries of the Most High, right? It's nothing new. So we know that man cannot function right without the Ruach. So the Ruach is the ordering of the things and making sure that you lining up what the Father said to do, right? Just like a wife does or a mother does in the household with her husband. Same thing. Wisdom of Solomon 9 and 10.
O send her out of thy holy heavens, and from the throne of thy glory, that being present she may labor with me, that I may know what is pleasing unto thee.
Okay, so he said, send her out of set apart heavens, meaning she's in Shemayim, and from the throne of his glory, right? Being present that she may labor and know what is pleasing to Elohim. All right, so she knows what's pleasing to Yahuah. Verse 19 through 18.
And thou counsel who hath known, except thy give wisdom, and send thy Holy Spirit from above. From so the ways of them which live on the earth were reformed, and men were taught the things that are pleasing unto thee, and were saved through wisdom.
All right. So now we're going to look at 1 Corinthians 11, 7 through 8.
A man indeed ought not to cover his head, for as much as he is the image of the glory of God, but the woman is the glory of man. For the man is not of the woman, but the woman of the man. Neither was the man created from the woman, but the woman from man.
Okay, so the man wasn't created for the woman, but the woman for the man, right? She is his image and glory. The same thing as wisdom is the image and glory of Elohim, right? So you see how the Most High made Eve. He pulled her out of Adam, and we know the Ruach HaKodesh came out of the Most High. He pulled wisdom out of himself, the unspotted mirror of his goodness, and he loved her. And so that love that he feels and that passion that he feels that Yah has, he wanted us to feel that same energy, right? So he has us in the same image and likeness and had us go through similar experiences that he went through. Sirach 24.
Wisdom shall praise herself and shall glory in the midst of her people. And in the congregations of the Most High shall she open her mouth and triumph before his power. I came out of the mouth of the Most High and covered the earth as a cloud.
Did y'all hear that? She came out of the mouth of the Most High. She came from Yah, right? The same way Yahuah pulled the woman from the man. So everything you see on earth mimics the Shemayim, the heavens. He didn't do nothing new with Adam. He pulled a rib out of Adam, right? So they can do as it is in Shemayim. Adam was supposed to be the king over the world, right? He was the first king and priest over the world. Like the Most High is sovereign and the power over the heavens, right? Sirach 24, verse 4 through 5.
I dwelt in the high place, and my throne is in the cloudy pillar. And I alone compassed the circuit of heaven, and I walked in the bottom of the deep, and in the waves of the sea, and in all the earth, and in every people and nation I got a possession. With all these I sought rest, and in those inheritance shall I abide.
Did y'all just hear what she just said, y'all? She said that in every people and nation, I got a possession. The only ones that can claim that is the Most High El, right? So the Father, the ones that said, let us make man, these are the supreme powers, right? You have El the Father, that's the head, and then you have the Son or the Word of El, then you have the Ruach HaKodesh, and they're going to inherit all nations because all belong to them, right? The other sons have an inheritance too, but this inheritance that the Father has, the Ruach has, and their first begotten, firstborn son has is the double portion, the biggest inheritance. All right, that's why the claim is all nations, which we're gonna see that Yah says all nations belong to Him, right? And so she has a possession among all nations, and all these she sought rest, right? And whose inheritance shall she abide? So there's a place where she wants to abide, though, right? Just like Yahuah wants to abide in a certain place. So we're going to look at that. Sirach 24, verse 8.
So the creator of all things gave a commandment, and he that made me caused my tabernacle to rest, and said, let thy dwellings be in Jacob, and thine inheritance in Israel.
So Yah gave her a commandment. So she came to dwell among Israel, right? And that's why all the other nations had indignation against Israel, because out of all the people of the earth, Yah sent the Ruach HaKodesh and gave his commandments to a certain people that will be the keepers or guardians of the law, right? Even though they're the youngest nation, right? So keep that in mind. Just like man is the youngest of the creation of the other sons, but yet they serve them. Isn't that interesting? Just like Israel is the youngest nation, but yet these older nations before them are going to serve them. Yah wants everything to do with his people, his creation. He wants them to experience the same things that they experienced in the heavens. So everybody experiences the same thing, and everybody has to play by the same rules and obey, right? Even though they may have not been their will, right? But it wasn't their will to be brought into this existence at all. It was his will, right? So keep that in mind. Sirach 24, verse 9 through 10.
He created me from the beginning before the world, and I shall never fail. And in the holy tabernacle I served before him, and so was I established in Zion. Likewise, in the beloved city he gave me rest, and in Jerusalem was my power. And I took root in the in an honorable people, even in the portion of Yahuwah's inheritance.
Yahuwah's inheritance. I want y'all to understand, El, the Father, Yah, he is the king of all the heavens and earth. But his firstborn son is going to be the most high Elyon on the earth. He's going to be the one that rules all nations, and his inheritance is Israel, right? He's known as Yahuwah Jr. in the Tanakh, or the Malak Yahuwah, the messenger Yahuwah, right? Sirach 24, verse 18.
And I took root in an honorable people, even in the portion of Yahuwah's inheritance. I am the mother of the fair love, and fear and knowledge and holy hope. I therefore being eternal, am given to all my children which are named of him. Come unto me, all ye that be desirous of me, and fill yourselves with my fruit.
The fruits of the Spirit. All right, this is where the fruits of the Spirit come from, right? It comes from her, verse 20 through 21.
For my memorial is sweeter than the honey, and my inheritance than the honeycomb. They that eat me shall yet be hungry, and they that drink me shall yet be thirsty.
Okay.
All these things are the book of the covenant of the Most High Elohim, even the law which Moses commanded for an inheritance unto the congregation of Jacob. Faint not to be strong in Yahuwah, that he may confirm you. Cleave unto him, for Yahuwah's Almighty is Elohim alone, and besides him there is no other. He filled with no other Savior. He filled all things with his wisdom, and patience and typus in the times of the new fruit. He maketh the understanding to be abound like Euphrates and of Jordan in the time of the harvest. He maketh the doctrines of knowledge appear as light as Gion in the time of the vintage. The first man knew her not perfectly, nor more shall the last find her out.
Cain. So notice she's always directing you to obey Yahuah, right? To follow his commandments and instructions. Remember, as the Ruach HaKodesh is not going to talk about herself, as it says, as the Mashiach says in John, right? 14, but it's going to remind you of what the Son said, right? What he told you to do. So this is how he was functioning before he came in the flesh, right? His name was Yahuah Jr., though, at this time, all right? And his inheritance is Israel. That's why he is the only savior of Israel, because the lot of his portion is Israel, this people. And y'all gonna understand that when we get to the part about the divine council. All right. So 2 Peter 3 and 5.
For they chose to have this hidden from them, that the heavens were of old in the earth, standing out of the water and in the water by the word of El.
By the word of El, right? So the heavens were of old and the earth standing out of the water in the water by the word of El. Okay. Psalms 33 verse 6.
By the word of El, heavens were made in all their hopes by the spirit of his mouth.
So notice the word of El, which is Yahuah Jr. or Adoyo, or who we know as Yahusha Mashiach, right? Made the heavens, but also his Ruach HaKodesh, my wisdom, right? By the spirit of his mouth. Ephesians 3 and 9.
Okay, and to make all see how this secret is administered, which from the ages past has been hidden in El, who created all through Yahuah, the Messiah.
Okay, so this is hidden secrets, right? From all ages that we've been talking about, right? El, Yahuah the Father, created all through Yahusha HaMashiach, or Yahuah Jr. He's the firstborn, so he gets the firstborn inheritance of all things. Colossians 1 verse 16.
Because in him were created all that are in the heavens and that are on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or rulerships of principalities or authorities, all have been created through him and for him.
So even all the sons of El, which are principalities, they all have to subject themselves to the firstborn son, who is the rightful ruler and heir of the heavens and earth, because he's the firstborn of El the Father, right? Hebrews 1 verse 2.
As it these last days spoken to us by the Son, whom he has appointed heir of all, through whom also he made the ages.
He made all the ages of time, right? From the very beginning, even before Adam, right? And that's a whole nother lesson of the people that was here before Adam was brought forth. But now Adam is designated to be the king of the earth, right? And he's supposed to be the priest of the earth. Now, this is the Targum of Ezekiel 28, verse 13. Let's see how this reads.
Thou wast in the delight of the paradise of Elohim. Thou hast bound upon thee every precious stone, the stardust and the topaz and the emerald and the carbuncle and the sapphire and the jasper and the silver and the gold and the ligner and the agate and the amethyst and the chrysolite and the beryl and the onyx, and thou hast filled their treasures and their stores in thee with gold. From the day of thou was created, thou with the cherubs, I set thee on the holy mount of Elohim. Thou wast in the midst of the stones of fire.
Okay, so this is saying he was with the cherub there, right? He was with this cherub, which we know this fallen cherub, right? That was in the garden. Ezekiel 28 verse 15.
Thou wast faultless in thy days, from the day of thou was created unto iniquity was found in thee. Out of the abundance of thy merchandise thou hast filled thy storehouses with iniquity and hast sinned. Therefore thou hast been cast down, wounded from the mount of Elohim, and the cherub has brought thee out of the midst of the stones of fire.
Yeah, so the cherub is the one that got you expelled, Adam, because you didn't took on the iniquity by biting of his fruit and doing what he told you to do, right? This is how you was wounded. Ezekiel 28:17.
Thou heart has lifted up because of thy beauty. Thy knowledge has been corrupted with thy beauty. Because of the multitude of thy sins, I have cast thee to the ground. I have caused thee to be put to open shame before kings.
Cain, right? So Adam was supposed to be guarding the garden, right? He's a priest and a king, right? So this is the first. I want y'all to understand this. This is where the priesthood from heaven is now on earth now, right? Through Adam. So there's a priesthood before even Israel even exists, all right? And it starts with Adam. Now, but the Levites get the foundation of the first priesthood. That's how Yah's giving them the instructions on what to do as being Levite priests, right? And this is what they were charged to do. Adam set apart holy place where Yahuah would dwell and commune with him was the garden. That was the headquarters, right? Just like the temple was the headquarters in the time with the Levites, right? And they had to guard the temple. So let's look at how that works. Numbers 3:38.
And those who were to camp before the dwellings place on the east, before the tent of appointment, were Moshe and Aaron and his sons guarding the duties of the set apart place and the duties of the children of Israel. But the stranger who came near was to be put to death.
Okay, so any strangers that ain't supposed to be in there, right, and touch these set apart things was put to death. Numbers 18, verse 1.
Yahuah said to Aaron, you and your sons in your father's house with you are to bear the crookedness against the set apart place, and you and your sons with you are to bear the crookedness against your priesthood.
Okay.
But bring with you your brothers of the tribe of Nui to the tribe of your Lawi to the tribe of your father to join you and serve you while you and your sons are with you before the tent of the witness. And they shall guard your charge and the duty of all the tent. But they do not come near the furnishings of the set apart place and the slaughter place, lest they die, both they and you. Mm-hmm. And they shall be joined with you and guard the duty of the tent of appointments for all the service of the tent. But the stranger does not come near you, and you shall guard the duty of the set apart place and the duty of the slaughter place, so that there be no more wrath of the children of Israel.
Cain. So they're guarding the set apart place. So Adam was supposed to do that, right? And even outside of the garden, you see Adam teaching Cain and Abel how to make sacrifices. Only priests do sacrifices on the altar unto El, Yahuah the Father, right? So this was being done, but who taught them this? Who taught them how to do these sacrifices? What priesthood is the one doing this, right? Verse 6.
And see, I myself have taken your brothers, the Levites, from the midst of the children of Israel, a gift to you given by Yahuah, do the service of the tent of the appointments.
Cain. All right. So we see that's the duty of the priest, right? Numbers 18 and 7.
But you and your sons with you are to guard your priesthood for all matters at the slaughter place and behind the veil. And you shall serve. I have given you the priesthood as a gift for the service, but the stranger who come near is put to death.
Cain. So notice the priest's obligations in the temple were to guard the temple from any unclean things from entering into the tabernacle. That was the same job Adam was charged to do in the Garden of Eden. And because he failed to guard the garden from the unclean that entered in, he was removed from the stones of fire with the cherub, right? He was removed and cast out. So remember that priests are the gatekeepers. These are the gatekeepers between El and man. All right. 1 Chronicles 9 and 17.
And the gatekeepers of Shalum and Akwat and Talum and Ahim, Amin, and their brothers Shalum and Chief, and up till they were gatekeepers for the camps of the children of Lewi, and the servant gate on the east. Mm-hmm. And Solomon, son of Kor, son of Ephus, son of Korah, and his brothers from his father's house, and the Korites were over the work of the service, guards of the threshold of the tent, and their fathers had been guards of the entrance of the camp of Yahuah. And Phinehas, son of Elzar, was leader over them in the time past. Yahuah was with them, and Zachariah, son of Mesodelima, was a gatekeeper of the entrance of the tent of the appointment, so that they and their sons were over the gates of the house of Yahuah, the house of the tent, by the watchers.
By watchers, right? So they are like the watchers, just like the heavenly hosts or the sons of El are watchers, right? They the priests also have this duty on the earth. Verse 24 to 26.
The gatekeepers were on the four sides: the east, the west, the north, and south. And their brothers in their villages had to come with them from time to time for 7 days. For the four of the chief gatekeepers were in an office of trust. They were Levites, and they were over the rooms in the treasures of the house of Elohim. And they spent the night all around the house of Elohim because they had the duty, and they were to open it morning by morning.
Dang, so their charge is the same thing Adam had to do in the garden. Same thing. 1 Chronicles 23:19.
And he set the gatekeepers at the gates of the house of Yahuah, so that no one who was in any way unclean should enter.
Okay. So Azazel, the unclean Malak, should have been rebuked by Adam, right? But he didn't rebuke him. He allowed him to come in and bring in the unclean counsel and wickedness to persuade them to eat from the tree of the good and evil. 2 Baruch 10:18.
Moreover, you priests, take you the keys of the sanctuary and cast them into the height of the heavens and give them to Yahuah and say, guard your house thyself, for lo, we are found false stewards.
See, so the false stewards they're not obeying the charge to be good watchers, right? To protect the sanctuary of Elohim, right? So this is symbolically saying how the false priests who are in position that are not doing the work of Yahuah calls them false stewards, right? Because they're not obeying the charge. The priest's job was to be a gatekeeper over Yahuwah's house. They were required to serve and guard his house. And the job of the priesthood was preserving Yahuwah's Torah, his statutes, his commandments, the word of Elohim. Right? Same thing Adam was supposed to do when Azazel was telling him to do opposite of the Torah or the command. He was supposed to reinforce the command, right? But he went along with it, right? So that's why he got kicked out, and now he had to learn the hard way outside of the garden. So the Torah to the nations. So notice the priesthood is on earth, and now from Adam is being passed down, right? Now, who was the person that received this priesthood? Let's look at Joshua 3:22.
And the day came, and when Enoch went forth, and they all assembled and came to him, and Enoch spoke to them the words of Yahuwah, and he taught them wisdom and knowledge. And they bowed down before him, and they said, may the king live, may the king live.
So after Adam died, the first king and priest of the earth, Enoch was the king and priest of the earth, okay? And notice what he's doing. He's teaching wisdom and knowledge, right? We're going to find out what this wisdom and knowledge is, right? Because these are the words of Yahuwah that he's teaching. And who taught him this, right? Let's look at verse 23.
And in some time after, when the kings and prince and the sons of men were speaking to Enoch, and Enoch was teaching them the ways of Elohim, behold, the angel of Yahuwah then called unto Enoch from heaven, and wished to bring him up to heaven, to make him reign there over the sons of Elohim, as he had reigned over the sons of men upon earth.
Dang, so Enoch was such a good king and priest on the earth. He said, man, I want to bring you up here and put you in charge over some of these other lesser sons of El, right? Because you're doing such a good job here on earth, man. You already proved yourself to get the reward to reign in Shemayim, right? Verse 24.
When at that time Enoch heard this, he went and assembled all the inhabitants of the earth and taught them wisdom and knowledge and gave them divine instructions, Torah. And he said to them, I have been required to ascend into heaven, therefore do not know the day of my going.
Dang. So notice he's teaching them Torah, the divine instructions, right? of Elohim. And God, he's about to get promoted for being such a good king and priest. But what priesthood is he walking in? Verse 25.
And now, therefore, I will teach you wisdom and knowledge and will give you instructions, Torah, before I leave, and you how to act upon earth, whereby you may live. And he did so.
So he's teaching all the nations on the earth, Torah, before he leaves and gets promoted in the Shemayim, right? This is the example for all of us, because we're supposed to be promoted too if we be good guardians, priests, right, of Yahuah. But notice what priesthood is operating right now, because there are no Levites, there's no Israelites that exist right now. Verse 26.
And he taught them wisdom and knowledge and gave them instructions, Torah, and he reproved them, and he placed before them statutes and judgments to do upon earth. And he made peace amongst them, and he taught them everlasting life and dwelt with them sometime, teaching them all these things.
Man, he teaching all the laws, statutes, and judgments and everything, right? Reproving and rebuking, being a good priest and king. Verse 27.
And at that time, the sons of men were with Enoch, and Enoch was speaking to them, and they lifted up their eyes, and in the likeness of the great horse descended from heaven, and the horse paced in the air.
Okay. All right. Joshua 3:28.
And they told Enoch what they had seen, and Enoch said to them, on my account, does this horse descend upon earth? The time is come when I must go from you, and I shall no more be seen by you. And the horse descended at the time and stood before Enoch, and all the sons of men that were with Enoch saw him. And Enoch then again ordered a voice to be proclaimed, saying, where is the man who delighteth to know the ways of Yahuah, has his Elohim? Let him come this day to Enoch before he is taken from us.
Okay, so they getting the Torah fresh before he leaves. Verse 31.
And all the sons of men assembled and came to Enoch that day, and all of the kings of the earth with their princes and counselors remained with him that day. And Enoch then taught the sons of men wisdom and knowledge, and gave them in divine instructions, Torah, and he bade them serve Yahuah and walk in his ways all the days of their lives, and he continued to make peace amongst them.
So you see, he's like a prefigure of Yahushua Mashiach. He's a king and priest, and he's also making peace, right? He's also the Prince of Peace here. All right. But notice, what priesthood is he operating in? So now Enoch is going up to Shemayim. So now he has to pass the priesthood and the Torah, right? The charge of guarding the Torah to his next heir, right? Let's look at that. Yashar 4:2.
And when Enoch had ascended into heaven, all the kings of the earth rose and took Methuselah his son and anointed him, and they caused him to reign over them in the place of his father.
Okay, so Methuselah now is anointed with the priesthood and to be king, right? Verse 3.
And Methuselah acted upright in the sight of Elohim, and as his father Enoch had taught him, and his likewise during the whole of his life taught Hazadam seed wisdom, knowledge, and the fear of Elohim, and he did not turn from the good ways either to the right or to the left. But in the latter days of Methuselah,
Adam, meaning the seed of the children of Adam.
Adam's seed turned from Yahuah. They corrupted the earth. They robbed and plundered each other, and they rebelled against Elohim. They transgressed and they corrupted their ways and would not hearken to the voice of Methuselah, but rebelled against him.
So notice Yahuah is charging them with transgression, meaning that they violated the Torah. So he's going to bring judgment on them accordingly. So this is just judgment, right? Because they were taught the law and now they transgressing the law, right? Chapter 4, verse 15 through 16.
And the child of Noah grew up and was weaned, and he went the ways of his father Methuselah, perfect and upright with Elohim. And all Has Adam seeds departed from the ways of Yahuah in those days, as they multiplied upon the face of the earth with sons of daughters, Benem and Benat, and they taught one another their evil practices, and they continued sinning against Yahuah.
Okay, so notice Noah's the only one guarding the charge of the priesthood and the commandments, the instructions, the Torah, right? And he learned this from his father, Methuselah. So Enoch kept the law and taught all the sons of Adam, right? The nations to keep Torah before they ever was an Israelite, right? Before Israel even existed. Now, let me tell y'all this. Where in the Tanakh, in your Masoretic text, right? Your Tanakh, your Old Testament, right? Where does it teach you how to actually slaughter an animal? Where does it teach you how to do a sacrifice? It don't. There's nowhere in there, right? And that's because, again, this was part of the Midrash, right? This was called part of the Mishnah, or the oral law, right? Everything wasn't written down, right? But there were oral laws that went into detail on how to walk out certain Torah, certain instructions on how to do certain things. And Enoch's about to give you some of that right here. 2nd Enoch 58.
Enoch's instructions to his sons: listen to me, my children. Today, in the day of our father Adam, Yahuah came down unto the earth on account of Adam, and he inspected all his creatures, which he himself had created in the beginning of the thousands ages. And when after all those he had created Adam.
Look at this. Look at this. Did y'all hear what he just said so far? Yahuah came down on the earth on account of Adam, meaning before he was not messing with the earth. Something happened on the earth, right? He inspected all his creatures, which he himself had created in the beginning of the thousands of ages. In the beginning, not the age of Gemini when Adam and Kawa stepped on the scene, all the ages before him, right? And when after all those that he created in those ages, he created Adam. He renewed the earth and created Adam. So he's saying a lot just in this part right here. But go ahead.
And Yahuah summoned all the animals of the earth, and all the reptiles of the earth, and all the birds that fly in the air. And he brought them all before the face of our father Adam, so that he might pronounce names for all the quadrupeds. And Adam named everything that lives on the earth. And Yahuah appointed him over everything as king, and he subjected everything to him. And subservience under his hands, both the dumb and the deaf, to be commanded, and for submission, and for every servitude. So also to every human being, Yahuah created mankind to be Yahuah, to be Lord of all.
Go ahead.
And Yahuah will not judge a single animal soul for the sake of man, but human souls he will judge for the sake of the souls of their animals. And in the great age, there is a special place for a human being. And just as every human soul is according to the number, so also is with animal souls. And not a single soul which Yahuah has created will perish until the great judgment. And every kind of animal soul will accost the human beings who have fed them badly.
King. So notice, y'all cares about animal cruelty, right? So he's letting you know, man, if you sin against an animal, meaning bestiality, if you gonna abuse them, malnourish them, and do all this stuff, you're gonna give account on the day of judgment for all his creatures that you did this to as well, right? He's showing in-depth Torah on all that Yah has made and created, and what is charged for Adam or the sons of Adam to do, right? And even to the end of the great age where judgment takes place. All right, 2nd Enoch 59.
Enoch kept the law and taught all the sons of Adam the nation's Torah before there ever was in Israel. Oh, okay. 2nd Enoch teaches all his sons why they should not touch an ox because of the outflow. He who acts lawless with the souls of an animal acts lawlessly with his own soul. For a person brings one of these clean animals to make a sacrifice on account of sin, so that he may have healing for his soul. If he brings it to the sacrifice from clean animals and birds, and cereals, and then there is healing for that person, and he will heal his soul.
Mhm.
Okay, everything has been given to you for food, by four legs, so as to perform the healing properly. And there is healing, and he will heal his soul. And he who puts to death any kind of animal without bonds put his own soul to death, and acts lawlessly with his own flesh. And he who does any kind of harm whatsoever to any kind of animal in secret is it an evil custom, and he acts lawlessly with his own soul.
So he's telling you how to sacrifice an animal even for food, right? He's letting you know if you want to eat a meat from an animal that is clean. Notice he taught, they had Torah. They know the clean animals and the unclean animals. This is way before Moses, right? This is way before Abraham. This is way before all that, all right? And he's telling you how you have to bind their feet together before you slaughter them, before you sacrifice, the animal so you can prepare it to be eaten. This is the rules according to the Torah. In the Slavonic, Enoch Methuselah asks his father for a blessing and is given instructions on how to live righteously, right? After their father ascends into Shemayim, and Methuselah and his brothers built an altar, right? And made a great festival or festivity, praising Elohim, who had given them such a sign by means of Enoch, who had found favor with him, right? So you see the priesthood, the Torah being passed down, right? All nations had it at one point, as y'all seeing this. First Enoch 65, verse 11.
And for these there will be no place of refuge forever, for they showed to them what is secret, and they have been condemned. But not so for you, my son. Yahuah of spirits knows that you are pure and innocent of this reproach concerning the secrets.
So this is talking about the angels. The Malachim shared the secrets with man, right? This is when man started going off and stuff like that. This is before the flood, right? This is the fall. These are the ones that went on Mount Hermon, right? And made an oath to go in unto the daughters of men and so forth. So he's telling his son, like, look, Yahuah chose you because you didn't, you stayed set apart. Yahuah has charged you to guard the priesthood, right? The secrets. Enoch 65, 12.
And he has established your name among the holy, and will keep you from amongst those who dwell upon the dry ground. And he has destined your offspring in righteousness to be kings and for great honors. And from your offspring will flow out a spring of the righteous and holy without number forever.
Okay, so notice there's a lineage that is going to always guard the priesthood all the way down, way before Israel comes on the scene. All right, they've been charged with that. So Enoch 67, 1 through 4.
And in those days, the word of Elohim came unto me, and he said unto me, Noah, thy lot has come up before me, a lot without blame, a lot of love and uprightness. And now the angels are making a wooden building, and they have completed that task, and I will place my hand upon it and preserve it, and there shall come forth from it the seed of life, and the change shall set in it, so that the earth will not remain without inhabitants.
So notice this: angels actually helped him build the ark, right? It said that they were making a wooden building and helped complete it. Go ahead, verse 3 through 4.
And I will make fast thy seed before me forever and ever, and I will spread abroad those who will dwell with thee, and it shall not be unfruitful on the face of the earth, but it shall be blessed and multiplied on the earth, and in the name of Yahuah. And he will imprison those angels who have shown unrighteousness, in thy burning valley, which my grandfather Enoch and formerly shown to me in the west, among the mountains of gold and silver and iron and soft metals and tin.
Okay, so Enoch again, he was sharing everything with Noah. Genesis 7, 1 through 3.
And Yahuah said unto Noah, come thou and all thy house and unto the ark, for thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation. Every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by sevens, the male and his female, and the beasts that are not clean by two, the male and his female. Of fowls also of the air by sevens, the male and the female, to keep seed alive upon the face of all the earth.
Okay, so we see that they knew clean and unclean animals. This is before the Torah on Mount Sinai, right? So in Genesis 7, Noah took unclean animals by pairs of two in the ark, right? What was the point of Yahuah's distinction between clean and unclean animals? That there was no eating of meat or sacrificing animals, right? If this wasn't being done, which we know clean and unclean animals did not represent people here, right? Because the only people that was spared on the ark was Noah and his sons. So their family, which was 8 souls, and the rest of mankind was destroyed by the flood. So clean and unclean animals were understood from the very beginning, right? So this whole thing about eating meat or not eating meat, they ate meat, right? They knew the distinction between clean and unclean before Deuteronomy and Leviticus told you that, all right? And what priesthood is being done here? That's the question also, right? Because we know that Noah did offerings, and you got to be a priest to do that. So how was he doing that? What priesthood was he operating from? Jubilee 6.
And on the new moon of the 3rd month, he went forth from the ark and built an altar on that mountain. And he made atonement for the earth, and took a kid and made atonement by its blood for all the guilt of the earth, for everything that had been on it and had been destroyed, save those that were in the ark with Noah. And he placed the fat thereof on the altar, and he took an ox, a goat, and a sheep, and kids, and salt, and turtle dove, and the young of the dove, and placed a burnt sacrifice on the altar, and poured thereon an offering mingled with oil, and sprinkled wine, and strewed frankincense over everything, and caused a goodly savor to arise acceptable before Yahuah. And Yahuah smelt the goodly savor, and he made a covenant with him that there should not be any more flood to destroy the earth, that all the days of the earth, seed time and harvest, should never cease. Cold and heat in summer and winter, and on day and night should not change the order, nor cease forever. And you increase ye and multiply upon the earth, and become many upon it, and be a blessing upon it. The fear of you and the dread of you I will inspire in everything that is on the earth and in the sea. And behold, I have given unto you all beasts, and all winged things, and everything that moves on the earth, and the fish in the waters, and all the things for food. And as the green herbs, I have given you all things to eat.
So you got meat, fish, and herbs, and fruits, and all that's good for meat, right? All the clean animals, right? So notice, he's making a covenant with Noah. Noah's doing offerings and sacrifices as a priest. He's doing drink offerings. He's doing all this stuff, right? This is before Israel. So what priesthood is being operated in? Jubilee 6 and 7.
But the flesh, with the life thereof, with the blood, ye shall not eat. For the life of all the flesh is in the blood. Least your blood of your life, your lives by required of the hand of every man, and at the hand of every beast will I require the blood of man. Whosoever sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of Elohim made he man, and you increase ye and multiply on earth. And Noah and his sons swore that they would not eat any blood that was in any flesh. And he made a covenant before Yahuah Elohim forever throughout all the generations of the earth in his month. And on this account he spake to thee, that thou shouldest make a covenant with the children of Israel in this month upon the mountain with an oath, and that thou shouldest sprinkle blood upon them, because of all the word of the covenant which Yahuah made with them forever. This is a testimony is written concerning you, that you should observe it continuously, so that you should not eat on any day any blood of the beasts of the birds or cattle during the days of the earth. And the man who eats the blood of the beasts of the cattle or the birds of the birds during all these days of the earth, he and his seeds shall be rooted out of the land. And do thou commanded the children of Israel to eat no blood, so that their names and their seeds may be before Yahuah Elohim continually.
Hey, notice that. So who's getting the law from who? It's the question, right? Sounds like Moses is telling them everything that already another priesthood had already been here long ago and already was keeping Torah about, and telling them why they doing it. Right? And it's because of our forefathers, so-and-so, that got the Torah and told them to do this. And this is why you, Israel, are supposed to do this, this, and that. Y'all see this? So Jubilee 6 and 12 says, and for this law, there is no limit of days, for it is forever. They shall observe it throughout their generations, so that they may continue supplicating on your behalf with blood before the altar. Every day at the time of morning and evening, they shall seek forgiveness on your behalf perpetually before Yahuah, that they may keep it and not be rooted out. And now I want y'all to look at Jubilee 7 and 20, and y'all tell me, what was Noah teaching all the Torah? Look at this, Jubilee 7 and 20.
And in the 28th Jubilee, Noah began to enjoin upon his sons of the ordinance and commandments and all the judgments that he knew. And he exalted his sons to observe righteousness and to cover the shame of their flesh, and to bless their Creator, and to honor father and mother, and to love their neighbor, and to guard their souls from fornication and uncleanliness and all iniquity.
All lawlessness. Notice that. He's teaching all the Torah. This is in Noah's day. He's over here sealing his sons with the Torah. How to love thy neighbor as thyself, honor your father and mother, all the 10 commandments. All right, and the priestly sacrifice and laws like the Levitical priests had. The festivals too, they kept the feast days and everything, first fruits and all that. So Noah's ordinances, commandments, judgments are the same as Moses and the Messiah's commandments, right? Observe righteousness. This is defined by Noah in Jubilee 7 and 20, as we just read, how to bless their Creator. This is the same as Moses' first to the 4th commandment, and the same as Mashiach's, right? Honor the father and thy mother, same as the 5th commandment, and same as Mashiach, as he's quoting. Love your neighbor, right? Cover the shame of their flesh. Guard souls from fornication, uncleanness, and iniquity. All this is in the 10 commandments from the 6th to the 10th, right? So Mashiach taught these same things. The law of Mount Sinai was not new, okay? And it was never new. It was just passed down. Right, and Yahuah expanded on certain things that was going on during that time when they was in Egypt to make sure they wasn't dressing like the Egyptians, like they wasn't doing certain things of nakedness and all that. Right, so this is not the false Noahide laws either that the Jewish people will be trying to have people do. So guess who is the new patriarch that's about to be initiated to the priesthood? But he's a priest in training, if you will. He's learning about Yahuah. All right. Let's look at Genesis 9:26.
And he said, blessed be Yahuah, Elohim of Shem, and let Canaan become his servant.
Let Canaan become his servants, right? So we know that Ham did something and Canaan was cursed, right? But Shem is the priest. That's why Noah is giving the blessing to Shem. The Elohim of Shem blesses Shem, and Canaan is going to be his servants. Now, in some texts, we read that Shem ruled over the Canaanites, and he was the first priest of the Most High Yah. And I wonder why Josephus said Shem was a great man among the Canaanites is because he ruled over them. But his kingdom was in Jerusalem, and he was reigning in Jerusalem, and the original order being king and priestly simultaneously, right? Just like Enoch was a king and priest, Noah, and he's passing now on to his heir, which is Shem. Genesis 10 and 1 tells you about the generations or the nations here, right? How these are the generations of the son of Noah, Shem, Ham, Japheth, and unto them were sons born after the flood. These are the families of the sons of Noah after their generations and their nations. And by these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood, okay? After they brought forth Axphad, Shem lived 500 years and brought forth sons and daughters, right? And it goes on on the lineage. from Axphad to live 30 years, and then Shelah. And after he brought forth Shelah, Arpachshad lived 403 years. And then he brought forth sons and daughters, and then Shelah lived 30 years and brought forth Eber. Now, Eber is where we get Hebrews, right? It's the first Hebrew. And after he brought forth Eber, Shelah lived 403 years and brought forth sons and daughters, and it goes all the way down to where you get to Abraham, all right? Now, this is the table of nations, right? These are the 70 nations that Yahuah divided among the nations, right? From Shem, Ham, and Japheth. This is where you get the 70, okay? Now, Abraham, he is now being initiated to the priesthood, right? Jasher 9, verse 5.
And when Abram came out from the cave, he went to Noah and his son Shem, and he remained with them to learn the instructions of Yahuah and his ways. And no man knew where Abram was, and Abram served Noah and Shem, his son, for a long time.
So Amram is serving, right? He has to serve the elders, right? The priests, so he can get the knowledge, right? So he's you know, he's wearing the doorstep of his neighbor, of his kin. Verse 6.
And Abram was in Noah's house 39 years, and Abram knew Yahuah from 3 years old, and he went the ways of Yahuah until the day of his death. And as Noah and his son Shem had taught him, and all the sons of the earth, and in those days greatly transgressed against Yahuah, and they rebelled against him, and they served other gods, and they forgot Yahuah, who had created them in the earth, and in the inhabitants of the earth made unto themselves at that time every man his god, gods of woods and stones, in which could neither speak, hear, nor deliver. And the sons of men served them, and they became their gods.
So the sons of men are going off, right? They're not recognizing the Elohim of heaven and earth, right? They're now making carved images because Nimrod taught them that. This was the first rebel, right? In Babylon, right? Or Babel, right? So he's charging them with transgression because they was keeping Torah at one point. Okay, they transgressed against Yahuah, verse 9.
And all the generations were wicked in the sight of Yahuah, and they thus made every man his gods, but they forsook Yahuah, who had created them.
Verse 10.
And there was not a man found in those days in the whole world who knew Yahuah, for they served each man his own God, except Noah and his household, and all those who were under his counsel knew Yahuah in those days.
All those under his counsel knew Yahuah, so they all knew Yahuah. Even the nations before they went off knew Yahuah. Is that interesting? But Yahuah says, I don't. So when we get to Amos 3, what is Yahuah really saying? I've only known you, Israel, out of all nations. We got to figure out what that really is saying, because they knew him. Let's look at verse 11.
And Abram and his son of Terah was waxing great in those days, and in the house of Noah, and no man knew it, and Yahuah was with him.
Okay, so look, Abraham is learning about Yahuah and everything, but he hasn't experienced anything yet, right? He's learning instructions, he's learning Torah and stuff, but he hasn't, heard Yahuah's voice and actually had an experience with Yahuah yet. All right, verse 12.
And Yahuah gave Abram an understanding heart, and he knew all the works of that generation were vain, and that all their gods were vain and were of no avail.
King. So Nimrod had everybody off making these idols of wood and stone. Jasher 9:26.
And all these people and all the families divided themselves in 3 parts. The first said, we will ascend into heaven and fight against him. And the second said, we will ascend to heaven and place our own gods there and serve them. And the third part said, we will ascend to the heaven and smite him with bows and spears. And Elohim knew all their works and all their evil thoughts. And he saw the city and the tower which they were building.
Okay, so this tower, right, of Babel, remember Babel in Hebrew means the gates of El. Okay, this is the gateway. This is the stargate or the portal of where El dwells and where he descends and ascends from, right? Now, El the Father ain't going nowhere, right? This is talking about El Shaddai Yahuah, all right? Verse 27.
And when they were building, They built themselves a great city and very high and strong tower, and on the account of its height, the motor of the bricks did not reach the builders in their ascent to it until those who went up had completed a full year, and after that they reached to the builders and gave them the motor in the bricks. Thus was it done daily. And behold, these ascended and other descendants in whole days. And if a brick should fall from their hands and get broken, they would all weep over it. And if a man fell and died, none of them would look at him. And Yahuah knew their thoughts, and it came to pass when they were building, they cast the arrows towards the heavens, and all the arrows fell upon them, filled with blood. Oh, and they saw them, they said to each other, surely we have slain all those that are in heaven.
Notice he's saying we have slain all those that are in heaven. They knew the divine counsel. They understood what Elohim, mighty ones that ruled over the earth was. They understood this. And they're saying, you know what, we're going to kill them and put our own guys up there. You know, what Nimrod taught us, these wood and stone guys we making of ourselves that we like, we going to replace them up there. We're going to put our guys there. And I like this picture here showing how all these different religions are as us creating our own way to get to Elohim, or our own gods, if you will, what we think is right, instead of obeying what he already has given us to serve and worship him by, right? So it's man, again, making their own made up God in their heads that they like, that's okay with how they live and whatever they want, right? And they creating these false doctrines and religions, and they're placing up there as this is Elohim's word, this is Elohim's will, just like these people was doing. And they was willing to remove them and place them up and place their powers or these molten images up there, which this is all, again, vanity, right? So Genesis 11:5 says, then Yahuah came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men have built. And Yahuah said, look, they are one people and they all have one language. And this is what they began to do. And now they are not going to be withheld from doing whatever they plan to do. Come, let us go there and confuse their language so that they do not understand one another's speech. Who is the us? Because these are the mighty ones. These are the gods, right, that are ruling over man. These is the divine counsel that I've been telling y'all about. And it's all in the book. Let us go there, right? And Yahuah scattered them from there over the face of all the earth, and they left off building the city. This is why his name was called Babel, because there Yahuah confused the language of all the earth. And from there, Yahuah scattered them over the face of all the earth. So this is where all the nations are now being divided and scattered into their regions, right? Because of this rebellion when they were all together as one, united, right? Joshua 9:30.
For this was from Yahuah in order to cause them to err and in order to destroy them from off the face of the ground. And they built the tower and the city, and they did this thing daily until many days and years were elapsed. And El said to the 70 angels who stood foremost before him, to those who were near to him, saying, come, let us descend and confuse their tongues, that one man shall not understand the language of his neighbor. And they did so unto them.
So this is the us that's coming down. It's the 70 sons of El. These are the elder sons, the first ones that were created, right? These are the hierarchy or the divine council, right? So El the father is there. Yahuah Jr. is one of these 70, okay? And he's saying, hey, man, let's go down there, right? Let's go down there and confuse their language because they really trying to remove us. And if we don't stop them, they're going to end up coming up here. Verse 33.
And from that day following, they forgot each man his neighbor's tongue, and they could not understand to speak in one tongue. And when the builder took from the hands of his neighbor lime or stone, which he did not order, the builder would cast it away and throw it upon his neighbor, that he would die.
Mm-hmm.
And they did so many days, and they killed many of them in this manner.
Because they were so set on building this tower or this ziggurat, right? It really was a ziggurat when you go into historical evidence, right? And They were so much into building it that even though they couldn't speak the same language no more, they got frustrated and was knocking each other in the head with these bricks and stone. Right? Jasher 9:35.
And Yahuwah smote the three divisions that were there, and he punished them according to their works and designs. Those who said, we will ascend to heaven and serve our gods, became like apes and elephants. And those who said, we will smite the heavens with arrows, Yahuwah killed them, one man through the hand of his neighbor. And the third division of those who said, we will ascend to heaven and fight against him, Yahuwah scattered them throughout the earth. And those who were left amongst them, when they knew and understood the evil which was coming upon them, they forsook the building, and they also became scattered upon the face of the whole earth. And they ceased building the city and the tower. Therefore he called the place Babel, for there Yahuwah confounded the language of the whole earth. Behold, it was at the east of the land of Sinai.
Cain, right? So notice this is how the nations got divided, and this is how their languages and so forth came, right? And he said that the certain ones that had this rebellious spirit, some of them became like apes and elephants. And this is somewhere where you get where the Indians get these elephant man and so forth, and their rhetoric and who they paid homage or worship to, and even monkey men and so forth, right? All this because India has the most ancient records of antiquity of history from all these things, right? Now, the Tower of Babel, this is a stela, just giving y'all some historical evidence of the ziggurat, of the ability, the house of the foundation of the heaven and earth. This ziggurat in Babylon. This is a caption identifying the great ziggurat of Babylon, the Tower of Babel. The royal inscription on Nebuchadnezzar continues. It says, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, am I, in order to complete Et-Tamen Inki and many Inki, I mobilized all countries everywhere. Each and every ruler who had been raised to prominence over all the people of the world, loved by Marduk, from the upper sea of the lower sea, the distant nations, the teeming people of the world, kings of remote mountains and far flung islands, and base I filled in the make of the high terrace. I built their structures with bitumen and baked bricks throughout. I completed it, raising it top to heaven, making it gleam bright as the sun. So this is when Nebuchadnezzar became king, and he wanted to make it like he was the one that, built the tower, which we know was Nimrod. This was one of, the first king of Babel, but he wanted accolades, so he tried to remake it, right? This was in the, I think, 6 BC. So yeah, so it was famously rebuilt by the 6th century BCE Neo-Babylonian dynasty ruled by Nabopolassar and Nebuchadnezzar II. According to modern scholars such as Stephen L. Harris, the biblical story of the Tower of Babel was likely influenced by Etmaniki during the Babylonian captivity of the Hebrews. Right, Nebuchadnezzar wrote that the original tower had been built in antiquity, right, which Nimrod did. A former king built the temple of the 7 lights of the earth, but he did not complete his head since a remote time. People had abandoned it without order expressing their words. Since that, the time earthquakes and lightnings had dispersed and the sun-dried clay, the bricks of the casing had split, and the earth of the interior had been scattered in heaps. So he tried to rebuild it, right, in his day. And this is the rebuilding of what they did, right? This is what they dug up and tried to put back together. So it was a ziggurat. It wasn't an actual like tower the way people envisioned it. And these ziggurats, this was famous in the East, right? And they would dedicate these to their powers that were over that nation. That's what Jacob saw when he was in Bethel, and he had a dream when he slept on that stone, and he saw a ladder going up and down, angels going up and down it. This is what he saw. He saw a ziggurat, because this is something in the spirit, also in the gateway in a different dimension where Yahuah dwells, right? And he was in Bethel, which is the house of El, right? And he saw Yahuah at the door, and the other Melachim, the sons of El, going up and down the ladder. That's what he saw. All right. So some modern scholars have associated the Tower of Babel with known structures, notably the ziggurat dedicated to Mesopotamian god Marduk, Now, Marduk was a Mesopotamian god. He was known as one of the sons of El, okay? And he rebelled later on, okay? That we'll get to that later. A Sumerian story with some similar elements is told in Marker and the Master of Arata. These are Sumerian myths similar to the Tower of Babel, called in Merkar the land of the Arata, where in Merkar and Uruk, right, is building a massive ziggurat in Eridu and demands a tribute of precious materials from Arata for its construction, at one point reciting an incantation, imploring the god Enki to restore, or Kramer translation, to disrupt the linguistic unity of the inhabited regions. So remember, we went over Enki in the other studies that we have done on Shabbat. We went over all these. These are the divine council, sons of El, that end up falling later, right? They were righteous at first, right? But then they went off. This is who the ancient gods of Sumer. We went over that. So yeah, this is what this ziggurat of the Tower of Babel was looking like. And they tried to rebuild it up. Jubilees 10 and 25.
For this reason, the whole land of Shinar is called Babel, because Yahuah did there confound all the language of the children of men. And from thence they were dispersed into their cities, each according to his language and his nation. And Yahuah sent a mighty wind against the tower and overthrew it upon the earth. And behold, it was between Ashur and Babylon in the land of Shinar, and they called his name Overthrow.
Cain. So now we're about to get into after the fall of the tower. Now everybody's going to their distinct lots and locations. Canaan transgressed his landmark because he had a specific landmark within Ham's inheritance, right? Let's look at that. Verse 36 through 38.
And in the fourth week, in the first year, 1688 a.m., in the beginning thereof, the 4th and 13th Jubilee were there dispersed from the land of Shinar, and Ham and his son went into the land which he was to occupy, which he acquired as his portion in the land of the south. And Canaan saw the land of Lebanon to be to the river of Egypt, that it was very good, and he went not into the land of his inheritance to the west, that is to the sea, and he dwelt in the land of Lebanon, eastward and westward from the border of Jordan and from the border of the sea.
So notice this land of Jordan and the Lebanon and from the border of the sea. This is Shem's land. So Canaan is supposed to go in Ham's lot, but he now looking at Shem land like, man, that's a fruitful place, man. And he goes down into there, right? Jubilees 10:39.
And Ham his father and Cush and Mizraim his brother said unto him, Thou hast settled in a land which is not thine, and which did not fall to us by lot. Do not do so, for if thou doest do so, thou and thy sons will fall in the land and be accursed through sedition. For by sedition ye have settled, and by sedition will thy children fall, and thou shalt be rooted out forever.
Cain. So Ham is warning Canaan, like, hey man, go to your lot of inheritance that the Most High gave, right? That the elder father gave to all of us, right? Verse 40.
Dwell not in the dwellings of Shem, for to Shem and to his sons did it come by their lot. Cursed art thou, and cursed shalt thou be beyond all the sons of Noah, by the curse by which we bound ourselves by an oath in the presence of the holy judge, and in the presence of Noah our father. But he did not hearken unto them, and dwell in the land of Lebanon from Hamath to the entering of Egypt, he and his sons until this day. And for this reason, that land is named Canaan.
Cain. So notice that, y'all. The land of Canaan, which is Shem's inheritance, Israelites' inheritance, that's supposed to be for them. Ham or Canaan, the sons of Ham, Canaan, went in and took it, right? So they're there in violation. That's why it's called the land of Canaan, even though it was truly the land of Shem. But the Canaanites were the first ones to dwell there. And when we get into it, we probably gonna get into it today. Well, we're gonna learn that to be in that land, right? there is rules and protocols to be able to reside in that land according to the power over that land, which we know is El Shaddai Yahuah Jr. Okay, that's his land. His people is going to inherit that land, but his people hasn't arrived yet. Israel hasn't even been born yet, but Canaan's in there, and Canaan's there, which they violated, and they stayed there for a while. Nobody thinks about how did Canaan reside in this land for so long? What were they doing? Why didn't, because eventually they got spewed out the land, but what were they doing before that? We got to figure out what was going on there, because there's rules to be able to be there. Now we get into this part where I want everybody to understand. This is now the divine council, the 70 sons that separated the nations. This is the divine council of El, the father. This is his 70 elder sons that he has given an inheritance to. The firstborn son gets the double inheritance. He has the actual land, that's his, but he also is going to inherit all of it, all the nations and everything, because all the other sons have to be subjected to him because he's the heir. He's the rightful king after the father, El, right? So let's look at what El did here. El Elyon Most High did. Targum and Jonathan, Deuteronomy 32, verse 8.
When the Most High made allotments of the world unto the nations which proceeded from the sons of Noah, and the separations of the writings in the language of the children of men, at the time of the division, he cast the lot among the 70 angels, the prince of the nations, whom is the revelations to oversee the city. Even at that time, he established the limits of the nations according to the sum of the numbers of the 70 souls of Israel who went down in Mizraim. And
did y'all catch that, y'all? Did y'all catch that, Myshpacha? Listen, so there are 70 sons of El. Yahuah gave them an allotment, meaning an inheritance among the sons of Adam, and land masses and divisions, right? And they were the princes or the principalities over the nations that El Yahuah gave jurisdiction and authority to have. They taught righteousness. They taught Torah in the beginning. All nations knew Torah. The 70 sons of El kept Torah, and they taught Torah to these nations at first. Okay? We're going to get into what took place later. But y'all need to understand this. This is very important. Deuteronomy 32 and 9.
And when the Holy Bible fell to the lot of the Yahuah of all.
So listen, there are 70 sons that got a lot. One of the 70 is Yahuah Jr. Okay? And when the holy people, which is Israel, fell to the lot of Yahuah, right? Of all the world. Go ahead.
Michael opened his lips and said, Let the good portion of the name of the word of Yahuah be with him. Gabriel opened his lips with thanksgiving and said, Let the house of Jacob be the lot of his inheritance.
Cain. So the good portion of the name of the word Yahuah, because remember, Yahuah, this is talking about the word Yahuah, El Shaddai Yahuah. He's the word in the beginning. Okay. This is his lot. This is his portion, which is Jacob, Israel. His nation was a newer nation that came later, not when all the other 70 sons had their nations, right? His didn't come till later, but he's the firstborn, so he had the choicest pick, and he chose Israel, right? This is who El, the father, allotted to him. Sirach 17, verse 17.
For in thy division of the nations of the whole earth, he set a ruler over every people, but Israel is Yahuwah's portion.
Israel. So notice that he set a principality, one of his sons, over all the earth, over every people, every nation. Only Israel is Yahuwah's. That's his portion. No one was over him until Israel got there, right? And he became their savior, their Elohim, and only him. He didn't want them worshiping all the other sons. He said, no, you just going to be for me. Okay. And verse 18, I don't know if you can see it, but it says, whom being his firstborn. Go ahead.
Whom being his firstborn, he nourished with discipline and I tried.
Yeah, giving him the light of his love, doeth not forsake him. Right. So Israel is his firstborn. He's going to inherit the rest of the nations, but Israel is his firstborn son. That's why Israel gets a double portion among the sons of Adam, just like Yahuah got the double portion among the 70 sons of El, right? He's the firstborn, all right? Everything as it is in heaven is on earth. This is the shared relationship on how everything went in Shemaim is going on this earth. So these watchers or angels, 70 sons of El, taught Yahuwah's Torah in the beginning before they went off astray. Psalms 103 verse 20 says, bless Yahuwah, ye his angels, that excel in strength, that do his commandments, hearkening unto the voice of his word. All right. We're going to read the Dead Sea Scrolls and see if it says the same thing. Deuteronomy 32 in the Dead Sea Scrolls.
When Elyon gave the nations as an inheritance, when he separated the sons of men, he set the boundaries of the peoples according to the number of the sons of God.
Now, sons of God in Hebrew is B'nai Elohim. They are called Elohim, okay? They are mighty ones, all right? They're not the supreme mighty one, which is El the Father. Elyon. Elyon means the Most High. He is the supreme power. He's the Father. He has 70 sons that are called B'nai Elohim. They are sons of El, okay? And notice, he set the boundaries according to his 70 sons. That's why there are 70 nations that they rule over. But what?
For Yahuwah portion was his people. Jacob was the lot of his inheritance.
So Yahuwah, the firstborn son of the 70, right, who gets the firstborn inheritance, Israel is his lot. That's the lot that fell to him, his inheritance. Now let's see if it says in the Septuagint, right? Dead Sea Scrolls is the oldest record we have. The Septuagint comes after that also. Let's read that. Deuteronomy 32, 7 through 8.
Remember the days of old. Consider the years of the past ages. Ask thy father, and he shall relate to thee, thine elders, and they shall tell thee. When the Most High divided the nations, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the nations according to the number of the angels, sons of Elohim. And his people, Jacob, became the portion of Yahuwah. Israel was the line of his inheritance.
Okay, so we see the distinction between the Most High El, his 70 sons or angels, the B'nai Elohim, and the firstborn son, Yahuwah, whose lot is Israel. That's the nation he gets. That's his inheritance, okay? So when the Most High made allotment of the world into the nations, which proceed from the sons of Noah, in the separation of the writings and languages of the children of men at the time of the division, he cast lots among the 70 angels, right? Anybody know what casting lots means?
Inheritance?
Isn't it? I just know it's like deciding like who's gonna do what, or like betting, or I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Like casting lots is something that we do in our culture as Israel. We know Jonah did it. Remember, they cast lots on the boat to see if he got to get thrown overboard because what was going on. We see it all throughout the scriptures. Is when you can take like they would take these rocks and they would maybe put something on a rock and throw it against the wall, and however it fell, that is what, if someone wanted this and it fell to that like he wanted, then that's what he would get. That's the casting lots. You would throw it and let Yahuwah decide. You would throw it against the wall and let it fall the way it may, and however it fails, however Yahuwah decided it for it to be, is outside of your control. So whenever we have something outside of our control, we let Yahuwah make the decision for us, and therefore we would cast lots, and that's what it would be.
Is it like heads and tails?
Kind of like heads and tails we do with the with the European coin.
I heard it was like the sticks, like whoever gets the short stick,
That's another way. That's another way of casting lots. Whoever gets the short stick, you just pull because it's outside of your control. So whatever it lands on or what you pull, that's what you get. So that's what happened with the 70 sons, and the firstborn. Yah set up a allotment on how it was done, and Israel fell to Yahuwah, which is the one above all. He's the firstborn above all the other sons. Okay. So that's what happened. So they cast lots among the 70 angels, the princes of the nations, with whom is revelation to oversee the city. Even that time he established the limits of the nations according to the sum of the number of the 70 souls of Israel who went down in Mizraim. Now we see that in in Exodus, right? In Exodus 1 and 5, it says, and all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls, for Joseph was in Egypt already. Now, Yah put that in there because he wanted you to know that, guess what? I had 70 sons, right, who was supposed to be ruling over the nations righteously, but they end up going off. So now Israel, those that fail, I'm replacing them with you. You're going to be my bride, right? And you're going to replace my brothers that were ruling over the nations, and you're going to rule with me, and you're going to be an heir with me because I'm the firstborn, and now you are going to be heir over the 70 nations. This is why Israel is chosen, because they're to replace the Melachim that failed. They're going to have a higher ranking position in the heavens after we proved ourselves, after the day of judgment happens for those that made it. We have a higher calling than the rest of the sons of Adam because we were called to rule with the firstborn son of El, because this is his inheritance, the whole earth. All right. Jubilees 16 through 18.
And we returned in the 7th month and found Sarah with child before us, and we blessed him. And we announced to him all the things which he had decreed concerning him, that he should not die till he should begat 6 sons more, and should see them before he died. But that in Israel should his name and seed be called, and that all the seeds of his sons should be Gentiles and be reckoned with the Gentiles. But from the sons of Yiscak, one should become a Kadesh seed and should not be reckoned amongst the Gentiles.
Are y'all hearing that, y'all? So notice he's saying, look, Abraham, I know you got other sons. You got Ishmael, you know what I'm saying? And even Isaac got Esau, all of them. Now he's saying, guess what? They're going to be numbered as the Gentiles too. Okay, they're going to be considered Gentiles among the nations, right? But Israel, the seed that comes out of Yitzhak, the chosen seed, they're not going to be reckoned among the Gentiles. They're going to be set apart because they're for a special purpose. They have to replace a certain faction of my father's sons that are supposed to be reigning over certain things, and he's chosen them. And this is what's going to happen, right? Verse 18.
For he should become the portion of the Most High, and all his seed has fallen unto the possession of Yahuah, that it should be unto Yahuah a people of his possession above all the nations, and that it should become a kingdom and priest and a Kadesh nation.
Now remember, the 70 sons were priests. Remember, we went over the 7 levels of heaven with the temples in them, and they were priests over those, right? So these sons, right, they had a special purpose. And when they failed, it opened the door for Israel to be able to have the opportunity to replace them. And they're going to become a priesthood also. They're going to become a nation of kings and princes and principalities, if you will, to replace the ones that failed, right? But what priesthood are they after? It's not the Levitical priesthood. There's a heavenly priesthood that has been in existence since the day of Adam and before that. And it's been passed down from generation to generation with the Torah. All right. So El Elyon Most High and Yahuah today is taught as one and the same deity. However, originally this was not the case. El Elyon was the Most High God and creator of the universe. But Yahuah, also known as Melchizedek, the word of El, was one of the unique sons of El Elyon, his firstborn, who along with his other brothers received an inheritance from his father El and was made a ruler over ancient Israel. When El Elyon, the Most High power, allotted territories to the sons of Adam, he appointed one of his sons to rule over each nation and to administer his government over the nations. And his government was his Torah, his instructions of righteousness that was in heaven, and now he wanted to mimic on earth, because earth is supposed to be a colony of heaven, right? It's supposed to be another representation of it, and they're supposed to be united and one, our heavenly brothers and our earthly brothers. Yahuah is the only El or mighty one of Israel, but there are other gods, mighty ones, angels, Elohim, which are sons of El Elyon that have a people and inheritance as well. Okay? Jubilees 15 verse 30.
Ishmael and his sons and his brothers and Esau, Yahuah did not cause to approach him, and he chose them not because they are the children of Abraham, because he knew them. he chose Israel to be his people.
Did y'all just hear that? It just said that Yahuah knew them. He knew the Edomites and he knew the Ishmaelites. He knew them. So in Amos 3, where he says, I have not known any nation but you, Israel, what is he really talking about? You see what I'm saying? He knew them. But Israel is chosen to be his lot of inheritance. Verse 31.
And he sanctified it and gathered it from amongst all the children of men. For there are many nations and many peoples, and all are his. And over all hath he placed spirits and authority to lead them astray from him.
Okay, so remember, he put spirits or principalities, which is the sons of El, the angels, over these nations to rule. And they were supposed to pay homage and honor and worship them, just like we worship Yahuah, right? Which is our El, our power over Israel, right? So these nations were allotted, and they're all many nations. But notice he said all are still his, even though they, the sons have inherited them, they still belong to the heir of all the kingdom, right? Which is the firstborn son. And they all have to pay homage to him regardless. That's why he's saying even all of it is his, right? But they went astray when they turned away from Elohim. Verse 32.
But over Israel he did not appoint any angel or spirit, for he alone is their ruler, and he will preserve them and require them at the hand of his angels and his spirits, and at the hand of all his powers, in order that he may preserve them and bless them, and that they may be his, and he may be theirs for henceforth forever.
So notice that whenever Yahuah, El Shaddai, right, which is the word of El, whenever we went off, whenever we got messed up, he sent us to one of his brothers. He sent us to one of the other sons of El, and they brought us into captivity and bondage and whooped us, right? That's what would take place. And he said, look, y'all are able to do this much to them. If you go beyond this, then I have a judgment for you. So he sent other watchers to watch the sons of El that were over these nations we were in captivity to make sure they didn't go beyond what he said they can do to us. And that's in the book of Enoch, which I ain't got time to get into in this lesson. But that's what took place. And he said they're going to have to give an answer for if they killed more than they were supposed to, if they abused more in a way that they wasn't supposed to on the day of judgment. He says, you're going to judge angels, Israel. Don't you know you're going to sit on thrones and judge angels? Because guess what? I had commanded my other brothers when you were disobedient to do certain things, and I allowed them to do certain things to a certain extent. But when they went beyond that, now you have judgment to lay against them. And I'm going to let you decide what you think the punishment should be on that day if you prove yourself to be worthy. You see that? That's what he promised Israel. So this is the mindset of our culture, the original faith of Israel. Before we went into Babylon captivity and everything changed, this was the true understanding of everything. This is what we're getting to. Uh-oh. All right. So Amos 3:1 says, hear this word that Yahuah has spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the entire clan which I brought up from the land of Mizraim, saying, you only have I known of all the clans of the earth. Therefore, I punish you for all your crookedness. Okay, so notice that. What is he saying? You only have I known. Is he saying I don't know no other nations? Meaning no other nations served me, kept my commandments, knew who I was, worshiped me, or paid homage to me at all? Is that what he's saying? Or is he saying Israel? What is he saying?
Basically, we basically I've been closer. Is it a closer thing? You know what I mean? Of course, all the tribes. It's a closer thing.
Cain.
I suppose I'm closer than you than I'm closer than anybody else.
Cain. Yep, exactly. And why is that? It's because guess what, Israel? You are my lot. You are my inheritance. It's been ordained and preordained from the beginning that you are mine, Israel. And guess what, Israel? No other nation knows me like I know you and you know me, because you are the only nation I went into covenant, blood covenant with, marriage covenant with. I'm your husband. I never married none of the other nations. I married you and was a husband to you. This is a different, just like a man knows his wife, I know you, Israel, like this. I don't know no other nation like that. Do you see that? This is the difference in what he means. Not the other nations never knew him and didn't serve him and didn't keep his law. No, this is a different knowing of Israel. Okay, this is his portion. Just like in Genesis 22 verse 2, where it says, and he said to Abraham, take now thy son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon the mountains which I will tell thee of. Now, is Isaac Abraham's only son? Not at all. Ishmael is before Isaac, wasn't it? But Isaac is the only one that has the covenant promise, right? He's the unique son that Yah only gave to him, that he called that seed from Isaac. That's why he says you're only, not as if he doesn't have any other sons, because that's not true. So we have to understand what Yah is really saying, because we tend to just look at it for face value and just think like, oh, he don't know nobody. Other nations know him or knew his law and didn't serve him or nothing. No, that's not what it is saying. All right. Hopefully you have more clarity. Now let's look at what the other nations offered the Torah. Let's look at Deuteronomy 33, 2-3. This is the Torah of Deuteronomy, Devarim 33, 2-3.
And he said, the Lord was revealed in Sinai to give the law unto his people of Beth Israel, and the splendor of the glory of his Shekinah arose from Gabal to give itself to the sons of Esau.
Wait a minute, to give it to the sons of who?
Esau.
All right, so y'all seeing this? So he's giving the law to Israel, but he ain't just stopping there at Israel. I want you to understand that whole landmass belongs to Yahuah, from the Jordan to Mount Seir, all where Esau dwells, and the other sons of the Hebrews, Hebrew Ishmaelites, Hebrew Edomites, Hebrew Midianites. All of that area belongs to Yahuah. That's him, and they worshiped him. You understand? They had to guard his law to stay there. But they had other patron deities that they also worshiped along with Yahuah. That was the difference. Yahuah's portion was only Israel. Israel couldn't worship the other powers like they could. You understand? Because it was allotted to them to do so. But he offered it to Esau. He offered it to Ishmael. Let's see what happens.
Okay, but they received it not, and it shined forth in majesty and glory from Mount Paran, to give it Paran to the sons of Ishmael, but they received it not. It returned and revealed itself to the holiness unto his people of Beth Israel, and with him 10,000 times 10,000 holy angels.
Wait a minute, 10,000 holy angels are at Mount Sinai with Moses, and they getting the Torah from Yahuah Jr., the firstborn son of El. So was he just looking at one power there, or was the divine council right there witnessing what was going on? That's what's going on right here. Go ahead.
He wrote with his own right hand and gave them his law and his commandments out of the flaming fire. And whatever had befallen to the nations had been done, because he loved his people of Beth Israel, and all of them he hath called to be saints, to stand in the place of his sanctuary. And when they observed the precepts of the law, they were conducted at the foot of thy glorious cloud. They rested and encamped according to the dictate of the words.
Exactly. So you see, he offered it to Ishmael. He offered it to the Edomites. He offered it to them, but they rejected it, right? And so Israel, it came back to them to receive it, and they got it. Remember, because they from Jacob and the 12 patriarchs, they were supposed to be keeping Torah, and they went into Egypt, and then everything was they started living like the Egyptians, right? So Yah had to come and bring them out and then reestablish his covenant. He was offering it still to Esau and Ishmael while they was up in there, but Esau and Ishmael rejected it. So when he brought them out of Egypt, this was their opportunity to receive the law again and say, you know what, we're going to be custodians of the Torah. We're going to guard it and be the priest that you said we supposed to be, right? Because we're going to be the priest of the sanctuary of the fallen 70 sons that were priests in Shemaim. We're going to replace them. That's why the heavy responsibility of the guardianship of the Torah was placed on us, and that's why we got the worst punishment, because for us, we are the ones that are supposed to keep the nations in order. But when we was given the responsibility, we treated it light. We didn't do what we were supposed to do. All right. So a Midrash says, but he offered it to them. Nonetheless, he demonstrated his even-handedness, right? And this way, El made known to the nations that he was justified in punishing them for their sins because he had given them a chance to discover and to fulfill his will as revealed, right? Now, let's see. He still got that mindset. If Israel want to reject it, I'm still offering it to the other nations. Let's look at this. Second Ezra 1:24.
What shall I do unto thee, O Jacob, thou Judah? What if not obey me? I will turn me to other nations, and unto those will I give my name, that they may keep my statutes.
Wait a minute. He said, look, O Jacob, meaning the house of Israel, the 10 tribes, and thou Judah, the southern kingdom, y'all would not obey me. So I will turn me to other nations, and unto those will I give my name. You know, the Gentiles that's called by my name. Yeah, I'm going to give them my name also, and they shall keep my statutes. Verse 35.
Your houses will I give to people that shall come, which not having heard of me, yet shall believe me, to whom I have so showed no signs, yet they shall do that I have commanded them. That they have seen no prophets, yet they shall call their sins to remembrance and acknowledge them. I take to witness the grace of the people to come, whose little ones rejoice in gladness, and through they that
and
not
though,
seen
and
me.
though they have not seen me.
Though they have not seen me with bodily eyes, yet in the spirit they believe the thing that I say.
Did you hear that, Israel? Did you hear that, Israel? You see this? He says, look, I gave the Torah to the nations before. They went off, just like you going off, Israel, and I'm gonna offer it to them again. And guess what? They're going to remember their sins. They're going to remember it. Yep. And they're going to acknowledge it. And they're going to take to witness the grace that I'm going to give them, right? That's going to come upon them. And guess what? In gladness, they're going to rejoice, right? They didn't see me bodily like you did, Israel, but guess what? They're going to love to obey me. They're going to have a spirit to believe everything that I've said. You see this? So, again, this ain't being taught, though. No, y'all ain't messing with the nations, man. No, the law ain't for them. It's just for us. We the only people he know. That's it. Nobody else, man. Is that so?
Yeah, that's wild.
Hey, y'all like, hey, I'm for who love. He says, I love them that love me.
Yeah. That's so sad. They're literally preaching, oh, there's no way they can get into the kingdom. You know, like, well, it's just so ignorant.
Yeah,
it's sad
stuff. And it's because of, again, we was oppressed, a lack of identity, and when we find something for our own, we don't want no one else to have it. We want to be like, it's mine, and you back off. When you was called to be the nations, the priests, the example to the world, how you demonstrating that? Talking about don't touch this is mine, and you go off and live horrible. This law ain't for you. Enjoy it. Do what you do. Did that sound like priest of Elohim?
Not at all.
What is this? And Yahuah, like the nerve of these people, the pride of these people who've been whoring and fornicating with other gods all this time and coming back to me with an attitude as if they're entitled to something, as if this is theirs, as if they ain't been this whorish nation all these years. You see this? This is a horrible attitude that we given as Israel coming back to Yah, and Yah is not pleased with it at all.
And looking down on others.
Looking down on others, right? Let's look at Amos 3:2. This is the last scripture, y'all. Amos 3:2.
You only have I known of all the families of the earth, therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities.
Cain, you the only ones that I made this marriage covenant with that in this intimate way, Israel. I share too much with you for you not to know better. So you're going to get it the worst. Isaiah 19:21.
Yahuah shall be known to Egypt, and the Egyptians shall know Yahuah in the day, and shall do sacrifice and oblations.
Yeah.
They shall not vow a vow unto Yahuah and perform it.
Did y'all just hear that? It said the Egyptians going to know Yahuah and Yahuah going to know them. But I thought he only knows Israel. No, that ain't what it's saying. They're going to do sacrifice and oblations. I thought only priests of Israel. I thought you have to be a priest to do that. Oh, so they're going to be priests also making sacrifices and oblations? They're going to be vowing vows unto Yahuah just like the Levites did and perform it? Interesting. Isaiah 19:22.
And Yahuah shall smite Egypt. He shall smite and heal it. And they shall return even to Yahuah, and he shall be entreated of them and shall heal them.
And Yahuah going to be healing them just like he used to whoop us and heal us back after we repented and everything. He going to do the same thing to them? Isaiah 19:23.
And in that day shall thee be a highway out of Egypt to Assyria. And Assyrians shall come unto Egypt, and the Egyptians into Assyria. And the Egyptians shall serve with the Assyrians.
So the Egyptians and the Assyrians going to be coming together, and they both going to be serving Elohim. And pay attention to Assyrians, because next, this is a part 2 where we're going to get into, and we're going to get more in depth about this stuff. And you're going to see why Assyrians are very important. Isaiah 19:24.
And in that day shall Israel be the third with Egypt and with the Assyrian, even a blessing in the midst of the land.
So all 3 of them are going to be in the midst of each other serving Yahuah. Isaiah 19:25.
Who Yahuah of hosts shall bless, saying, blessed be Egypt, my people,
in Assyria. Egypt, my who?
My people.
Okay.
And Assyria, the works of my hands, and Israel, my inheritance.
Did y'all hear that? Y'all just let you know, yeah, Israel is my inheritance, but I got other people. I got other sons. You just my firstborn son, Israel. I got other sons now. Don't get beside yourself. Right? I got other nations that's called by my name as well, Israel. Zechariah 14, verse 16 through 19.
And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, Yahuah of hosts, and to keep the feast of the tabernacles.
All the nations going to be keeping the feast of tabernacles. Go ahead.
And it shall be the whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to the worship the King, Yahuah of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain.
Notice that, y'all. Remember whenever we would rebel in the land, Yahuah would say, I would make your sky like brass. Ain't no rain coming down. I ain't going to open the windows of heaven for your harvest. You're going to go through famine. That's how he taught us to keep Torah. When he was teaching us to keep Torah in the land, he was like, if you don't obey, I'm going to do this. And you repent, and I'm going to give you rain again. So he's teaching Egypt to do the same thing. Go ahead.
And if the family of Egypt to go not up and come not, that have no rain, there shall be the plague wherewith Yahuah will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the feast of tabernacles. This shall be tabernacles. This shall be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all nations that come not up to keep the feast of tabernacle.
Cain, right? So again, at the end of the day, we see he going to inherit all nations anyway. Yes, Israel is his inheritance because it was from the beginning his, just like the other 70 sons had their inheritance from the beginning as well. All right. But Yahuah Jr., which is the firstborn, he's going to inherit all belongs to his father, El Yahuah, Elyon, the Most High. All right. So they're going to pay homage because he is the rightful heir. All right. And with that said, Myshpacha, we're going to end it with that and continue part 2. Next.
Oh, sorry, I thought I was on mute.
So, any questions, Mr. I mean, I know it was a lot that was covered today.
Yeah, I want to know what day is it.
Next day.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, this was an excellent lesson.
Hallelujah.
Brother, how can we listen to it again?
Yeah, I recorded it. So if anybody wants a recording of it, just send your email in the chat, and I'll get it to you.
Okay.
Hi,
Hi. Is that Queen?
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah, this was an excellent lesson, and it's very interesting that he went over Deuteronomy when we just went over Deuteronomy 32, and he expounded on my favorite scripture, 8 and 9. So that was actually a blessing. So that was very, very good. And a lot of the scriptures that you brought out, I actually have a book, the Targums, and also the Legends of the Jews that I've read the majority of this in, as well as Enoch. So it all just lines up.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very, very, very good lesson. I enjoyed it.
I noticed that when I'm in his class, in your class, you guys speak upon the same thing sometimes.
I'm just listening. I'm like, wow, he's just bringing out all these points, and I have myself on mute, but I'm all answering the question. It's wisdom. It's this. It's that. So I was so excited. It was really good. I really enjoyed it.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, you had to, because it's well past your bedtime.
Yes, it is. Really good.
All right. Yeah, I try not to have y'all too long, but this lesson is very lengthy and expounds on a lot. So I kind of wanted to touch on certain points without,
Hey, I was vetoed. I said 1 o'clock. So now this what you guys get. You can't have Yazi out here at starting at 8 o'clock. He talked for an hour.
Right. You already know that didn't count.
Yazi just got up
towards the lesson.
Yazi just got energy.
So I have a question. So is it wrong that we're like, I mean, he says his son came in his name, but is it wrong that we're saying like all praises to Yahuah, like we're praising Yahuah when we should be praising like El Elyon, like the Most High,
So the thing is, we pray to El Elyon Most High, right? But it's through our power, right? Which is Yahushua Mashiach, because he is the mediator to the Father. And we serve him in a way, not is a certain type of worship that is permissible. It's not the same to the Father, but it's no problem. Both of their names is Yahuah before he came into the flesh of Yahushua Mashiach, but we're his rightful people. There's an order of things. He told you his Father is greater than himself, right? He says worship, the Father, but we also serve and follow our King, which is Yahushua Mashiach. So it's all things through him, right? Okay. He's the mediator and he's our high priest between us and the Father.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I have a question too. Is there a way you can break down El again?
Yeah. So El Elyon is El Most High, right? He is the Most High Power, the Father, the creator of the universe. He's the architect, right? Then you have his firstborn, El Shaddai, which he's the one who presented himself to Moses. He said, look, Abraham knew me as El Shaddai, but you know me as Yahuah, right? I'm Yahuah Jr. I'm the spokesperson on behalf of my father. I'm his firstborn son. You see, you are my lot of inheritance that my father gave me. All right. So you have El Elyon Most High that sits on the throne. And then you have also El Shaddai Yahuah, or also known as the Word of El, also known as Melchizedek, the arm of Yahuah, the right hand of Yahuah. That's his firstborn son, right?
Okay.
So that's the difference. And then you have the other B'nai Elohim, the sons of El, which we're gonna go into more of them next week, so you can see how the hierarchy works and how even the nations understood who El was, the father, and opposed to his other sons. And we're gonna see what happened and why certain nations was able to stay in the land, like the Canaanites, the Amorites, and all them before at one point. And then they got spewed out for a reason. So we got to see what was going on, because that's Yahuwah's land. You get what I'm saying? So, but yeah. So we'll get into that, y'all willing, next week. But hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
All right. And anybody else? Anybody got any other questions? So do y'all understand the difference from henotheism and monotheism yet? Everybody all right? Everybody see?
Yeah. Like henotheism is like the belief in like one, we believe in the highest power, like the most high, but then there's other like Elohims too, right, that are his sons, that he like ordained.
Okay, so that's henotheism. That's henotheism. All right.
Cool.
Okay, so monotheism is there ain't no other powers. They don't exist. That's just a figment of your imagination. It's just one God. That is nowhere in the text. That's nowhere in the Bible. But that's something that was adopted later in Judaism and all this other stuff that came through the Jewish Khazarians and the Masoretic texts. But those of ancient Israel that had the Dead Sea Scrolls and all this stuff, they understood the truth of what it was, which is henotheism. You know what I'm saying? Which we serve the supreme power, but there are other powers that are under his administration and his authority that exist, and they have jurisdiction over certain places and people, right? But our Elohim, a lot of our inheritance is Yahuah, and that's the only one we worship and we serve. You see that? So
yeah,
that's the difference.
Because I guess Christianity, it's monotheism that they teach, and anything outside of that is pretty much a sin.
Right. And that's because, again, Christianity was made by the Gentiles. So we got this understanding from the Gentiles. This is not our heritage and our cultural understanding of the Torah and the scriptures. You know what I mean? And just adopted it, and just, so.
It's funny, going back to that scripture in Deuteronomy 32 again, I brought out, I think last week or the week before last, about, I like how it puts it in the Message Bible, where it talks about how the Most High separated the sons of Adam. However, he kept Israel as his personal concern, but he put other guardians over them.
Right.
He put other guardians over the other nations. And that's one of the only Bibles, so to speak, that kind of bring it out the way it is. So
Right.
It's a goofy Bible, but that particular verse
Right.
is a really good verse to try to express to people that how he kept Israel for his personal concern, but however, he put guardians over the other nations. They use the term guardians, but
Right.
it still is one of the ones that kind of lets you know there were other guardians that were over these nations. You know what I'm saying? To what you're saying, and the way you brought it out was way more thorough, because that was your topic. But it was, it was just excellent. It was really, really good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good point. Also, it's all throughout our text, y'all. Y'all got remember when Daniel was praying and Gabriel was trying to get to him, but the Prince of Persia, the principality over Persia, that's one of the
absolutely.
They was fighting against him. He had to get Michael.
He had to call Michael to come and help him out.
So this is all in the text. It's just we not taught this stuff the right way. It's like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And it really is in the text, and you really get to see what's behind it. That scripture, I want to say it's in Kings or Chronicles or one of those. And I love the scripture as well when the Most High is in the Shamaim and he's speaking and he's trying to get somebody to go and deal with one of the kings of Israel.
Ahab.
And there's these spirits that come. And when these spirits come, hey, Most High, I could do this. And hey, I could do that. And he's sitting and he's listening to him and he's watching him and he's like, nah, what you got? Nah. And then he goes over to the lion spirit says, oh, I could put a lion. He says, okay, yeah, I like that.
He's like, that's a good one. You're going to be a lion spirit,
right? And so we get to see what's happening in the Shamaim. And also, I don't know if you've familiar with, if you've read, which you probably have, the Legends of the Jews. Now, this is an excellent point in the beginning where the alphabet comes up, right? And they begin to argue about how they can create this, and then the letters begin to say, well, I can do this, and the Most High is using the letters to create as well. Is really, really good. It goes into wisdom, but the alphabet are popping up and they're trying to suggest, well, I can do this and I can do that, and he picks one of them, you know what I'm saying, to go do something, and one becomes over the other one because of the nobleness that how it chooses to create, and is just very, very aligned with what you're saying. So
right. Yeah, see, and that's another perspective, looking at like, wow, like,
oh, you would love that. You would I should send that to you. You would actually definitely love that.
Yeah, so yeah, like and that's what I'm saying. So when you really look at Earth, it was made. When they say "let us make man," it's like, look, we have an inheritance that we're creating something that's going to be like us, but we're going to be like powers over them and allow them to be powers over others, and this is just like a hierarchy.
And absolutely, and I really like the part that you brought out, and I don't hear a lot of people teach on this. I learned this years ago. In my one of my early instructors, I used to like how he said, "Man, y'all don't know the Most High is making angels," and he used to put it that way. But a lot of people don't know that the 1/3, the cause for them and the reason for one of their reasons is to replace the angels that fell. Okay. And when you said that, I was like, "Whoa! I never heard anybody bring that out." You know what I mean? Right. But that's something that we used to teach. Or I know that I was taught years ago, and it was really, really good point to bring out, because people don't realize the Most High is making angels. The things that we're going through here, this is how angels are made. Right. In this particular 3-dimensional realm, the things that we're going through, the things that we're enduring is for a greater purpose. And that purpose is to go through the suffering. So when you do get, when Israel do get to the position that they're getting to, right, they'll be qualified. True. Just like Yeshua Hamashiach had to qualify. We got to qualify.
He had to learn. We have to qualify. Sufferings. Yeah. He had to go through that, and that's why we're saying we're in training we have to qualify. Yeah, we have to qualify ourselves. We have to prove ourselves, and
we do. We have to qualify for this position to replace the angels. Right. And a lot of people don't understand that. They have this. We know Christianity. We're talking about that in our groups, but I'm not even going to deal with that particular Babylonian system. Just dealing with us as a nation, and even in teaching within the teachings of Israel, I don't think a lot of us understand that.
Right. That's true. Facts. Yep. That's very true. So yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, this was good. This was really good. I really enjoyed it. Hallelujah. I could go on forever, so I'm gonna shut up because I know it's late for some.
No.